Greetings. This is General CJG here, coming to you with, well, our next video game project, but this one is a very big and a very important one for not just the Star Wars Expanded Universe, but Star Wars gaming in general, and for RPGs in general, and for Bioware itself. And yes, it is the legendary game Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1 for the original Xbox, PC, and, well, I guess now lately for the Switch and a few other consoles. But yeah, mainly for the OG Xbox and the PC. And yep, it was released in 2003, so this is basically its 20th anniversary. So yeah, and joining me here, I got...
This is the Spider Fan Maniac back again.
Yep. And I also got...
Django Fett.
Yep. The Macho Mandalorian himself, who's also one of the biggest experts in Bioware RPGs. He had to be here for this one. And so, yep. And we're discussing Knights of the Old Republic. So, first, I think we should go with our experiences with the game. So, who wants to go first?
Yeah, I can go. So I think, oh man, I was pretty young at the time, of course, and I think I remember playing this a couple months after the game released. I was really fascinated with the title when I saw the trailer, and thought it was a really interesting twist when it was revealed that it was based on the Old Republic, a completely different era than what we are accustomed to seeing. So when I played it on the original Xbox, and then later on PC and the phone, much later, it blew me away. I loved every moment of it, and it just, after that, my first time playing it on the light side, I did the dark side playthrough right after that, and I think after like 5 or 6 years straight, I kept playing the game light side and then dark side every single year after it came out. That's how much I was obsessed with the game and exploring all the different choices and stuff. So every year I used to play the game and just to play light side and dark side and just revel in that experience overall. So yeah, that was a fun time.
Mm-hmm. How did your thoughts in the game change over time, or it didn't change, just got better?
It got better. Yeah, obviously the things have changed now that the graphics are not as good. I mean, they're not going to be as good as you first expected. But overall, the story experience, the gameplay, I still think it's great overall. So I think it's a timeless classic, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Okay, Doan, your turn.
This was an interesting case for me because prior to playing this game, I really never played an RPG game. The closest thing I ever played to an RPG game before was Pokemon Diamond, and I never really got into it, so I wasn't really interested, but the story was interesting enough for me to continue, so there's that. But there are certain quirks with this video game, like this is one particular bug which makes this game really annoying to play for every 5 minutes, so I'm gonna talk about that later.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Okay. As for me, well, my first experience, this probably will be difficult for you to believe, but I actually didn't know the game existed for a long while in the 2000s. I usually saw more marketing of Episode 3 related stuff, whereas basically the Episode 3 video game, Republic Commando, Clone Wars 2003, the Battlefront games, like I saw plenty of marketing of that. I didn't see much for Knights of the Old Republic at the time, or even back then when I was still growing up. And which is surprising because, yeah, I have heard from people that, yeah, it was pretty much there. Like the hype was there, and it was one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, sold lots of copies, like it made Bioware pretty much. It pretty much was their rocket-fueled jump into greatness, going from Kotor to Mass Effect, and Dragon Age. So
Yep.
yeah, it was a while for me to actually truly know about the game. I did see the cover maybe a few times when just browsing through the video game stores and just randomly seeing it there, the Xbox copy. But I didn't really play it until much later when I got the Star Wars The Best of PC collection of Star Wars PC games, which is also that collection from where I managed to play Republic Commando, Jedi Outcast, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. So that's where I actually got my start. It was in like the 2010s, in my middle school years, where I actually managed to play the whole game. And playing it, yeah, I was pretty enthralled. Like before that game, my only RPG experiences were Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, Evolution Worlds on the GameCube, and I think those were it as far as I can tell in terms of RPGs. I never played Pokemon back then, and I didn't play any Final Fantasy or other RPGs. So it was only the Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, and I think Bowser's Story, and Evolution Worlds. Those were my only RPG experiences. So Knights of the Old Republic was definitely a big beast for me in terms of RPGs, and it definitely was one where at times it tested me in terms of my choices and everything, and it also was one of the first games where I pretty much knew about doing all sorts of save states and saving the game a lot. Those that know me, I'm a saveaholic of sorts. I always save my games whenever you give me a manual save system. So those are one of the first that I did it. The other was Jedi Academy and Republic Commando. So yeah, so that happened, and the story was really interesting. It was absolutely great, and there is one point in the game that absolutely shocked the shit out of me, which we'll get to much later. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I replayed it multiple times. I always went light side. I never really had, I never had the balls of going dark side. I know. I've always been light side on that one.
Specifics of the dark side and light side should be talked about. It's kind of not that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, suffice to say, I was been a light sider in this game and in the sequel. So yeah, all my choices were on the light side. So yeah, but yeah, that's how it went, and yeah, it was a great experience, and yeah, I can't wait to talk more of it. So yeah, that's the end of my. Oh, and my opinion has definitely changed a bit, mostly in regards to its visual appeal and its presentation. I think the PC version definitely is the best looking, especially if you can get it with some minor tweaks with mods and stuff that to definitely improve the experience enough. I'm not talking about complete visual overhauls, just mods that increase the resolution and just improve some of the textures and stuff. That's basically what I think, that it does make the game look better. You can also play it using the OG Xbox copy with the Xbox Series X, which massively improves the frame rate. So those two are definitely the best experience you can get on PC with mods and in consoles with the OG Xbox with Series X. And that's as far as I go. Mobile port is also pretty good. So yeah, there's that too. But yeah, so this definitely game, you should give it a shot. And so with that said, now we should get into the game itself. So, Doan, would you be so kind as to pretty much narrate the beginning of the game and what happens in the first level, the prologue?
Yeah.
Okay.
The prologue basically begins with your character waking up in the ship Endar Spire. Your character has no idea what is happening, and it might look really odd when you talk to Trask Ogo because you have no idea. And, Trask is basically saying, hey, we gotta get the hell out of here. And you're asking these stupid questions. Trask just kindly answers them. So, we basically go through the ship and see Jedi and Dark Jedi fighting. And Trask bravely sacrifices himself so that your character can escape. You eventually meet Kart Onasi so that you guys could escape in a space shuttle. And then you eventually arrive in Taris.
And I just want to add to is that he pretty much mentions somebody named Bastila. You'll find out much later. But this is pretty much a tutorial session, the Endar Spire. And then the game really starts when you're on Taris, when you crash land on there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Indeed. And so the Endar Spire, guys. So this is basically a tutorial, as you mentioned. So what do you guys think of that?
I mean, like I said, the Endar Spire is you basically waking up and asking Trask questions like, I'm wondering what Trask would think because the player is basically asking him dumbass questions which he is supposed to know of, but actually not doing it because they're the character, right?
Yeah, it's obviously this is due to gameplay and to easing newcomers into it. Though,
And then Trask Ogo literally breaks the fourth wall and tells you how to play the game, which is like, yeah, I mean, thanks, Trask, but keep it and don't be so meta.
well, actually, Carved also does it too when it says use your stealth skill to get past the guards. So obviously, canon-wise, they don't actually break the fourth wall. That's just because the game was programmed to do that. So yeah. So don't take it as them actually breaking the fourth wall. They're no Deadpool.
And you know what's actually weird about this game, not thinking about it? So basically, Trask tells you to equip a Bible blade, which has like cortosis implanted in it. So what you're basically seeing is every time you use a sword in this game, like they're all cortosis. Just think about that.
Yeah,
With
that is.
everyone wielding cortosis.
Yeah, we'll definitely discuss that more when we get to sections involving Darksiders. But yeah, so the Endar Spire, it's a pretty interesting setup, and also we gotta mention that your character, before we even begin the game, you create your own character. You pretty much go through how he or she looks like. Oh, and also if it's a soldier, a scout, or a scoundrel. And so you choose whichever one of the three. I don't know which one is a canon class, by the way. I don't think this one matters much.
Soldier.
It's older?
It's soldier.
Huh. Interesting, because even when I choose scoundrel, the game still like says it like you're a soldier, at least a soldier for Bastila's group. So I was confused on which one it was.
No, it says smuggler.
There was one point that Bastila did say that your character was a soldier under her command. So, but anyway, so yeah, so you choose one of the three, and you pretty much go with either one. Now, as for which class is the best, I gotta be honest, I've only played this game using Scoundrel. I've not really tackled too much Soldier and Scout. So, the Django, how the classes differ?
So I had to look this up. I'm looking this up right now just to make sure because I forgot it too. But pretty much, I always start off with Soldier, but that seems to be the most proficient in both hand-to-hand and range combat. The Scoundrel tends to be the more harder one because it pretty weak in combat, has the most skill points and a couple of free feats. But if you want to favor combat more, then definitely go with the Soldier. The Scout is kind of a balance between Soldier and Scoundrel. I never really knew the difference between Scout because it felt like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like anything special to me, the Scout.
As far as I know, the one thing they do have different between the three is the specific feats that you can have. Some of them, Soldier, for example, you can pretty much through level 3 feats in terms of the weaponry and other combat-oriented feats, whereas the Scoundrel and the Scout, you don't go fully level 3 perk, you go on maximum level 2. And also there's some very specific class feats. A Scoundrel gets the Scoundrel's Luck or something, and then...
I think the Scout can maximize persuasion.
Scout, I don't know which is the specific feat that it gets, but Soldier, if I recall, it was... I actually don't remember on that one. But yeah, each specific class has its own set of feats, and so that's pretty much the biggest difference. And also there's some, depending on which class, you could actually get some specific feats already assigned to you. Though this could be more because of the party companions you get and already them having their feats. But yeah, the biggest difference is the feats. That's what changes the most, and also how many skill points you get. Because yeah, Scoundrel is the one you get the most skill points, whereas Soldier you get the least. So those are the biggest differences of the three. So there is that. And yeah, I usually went with Scoundrel. The Django, you said went with Soldier. Which one did you go with the most?
I mean, I go with, let's see. I don't go with the Soldier these days. I prefer the Scoundrel because it has points.
Okay, I guess that makes two of us in that. Yeah, I usually also go Scoundrel because of that. Because it has the highest amount of skill points. Yeah, so there is that. Okay, well, choose your class. You already narrated what happens in the Endar Spire. And so, yeah, now we get into Taris. So, okay, so what happens in Taris? Well, your character wakes up. Karf is already awake, and they have a little discussion. They plan on what to do. So they go around and basically trying to find Bastila, because Bastila is the key to defeating the Sith because of her battle meditation, because she's a Jedi. And so you gotta rescue her. You gotta find the wreckage of the escape pods, but those fell into the Undercity. So you gotta get there, but first you gotta get some uniforms. And so you kill some random Sith troopers in an apartment to get some uniforms. You get them. You get to the lower city. There you meet the Hidden Becks, one of the two swoop gangs that are fighting each other in the lower city. The Bulkers being the asshole pieces of shit that always attack anybody, and the Hidden Becks that they're more of the good guys. So you go with the Hidden Becks, you talk to them, and they agree that they'll be able to help you get Bastila back by winning the swoop race, but you need to steal the prototype accelerator from the Hidden Beck base. So you do that, but in order to do that, you need to find Mission Bale and Salbar, your two newest companions in this journey. And you find them in the Undercity, and you apparently, Mission, she requests your help to find Salbar, because Salbar was captured by Gamorrean slavers. So you go to the sewers and you rescue him, and then you get into the Hidden Beck base and you fight your way through there. You get the prototype accelerator. You return to the Hidden Beck base with it, and Gadam pretty much tells you, nice. Well, you'll be the one riding the swoop bike with the prototype accelerator, so go ahead. And yeah, your character wins the race. Brejik, because of being a whiny loser in terms of being unable to accept defeat, he pretty much instigates an entire fight, and so your character and Bastila pretty much kill all of the Hidden Becks, and they manage to return with Karf, and now they got a plan, or they gotta find a plan to get out. And so Canderous just shows up, in the cantina. They're talking with Canderous in the cantina to pretty much get me the Sith departure codes, and I'll get you the ship, Davix Ebon Hawk. And so that's pretty much what happens. Your character storms into the military base, gets the Sith departure codes, then meets Canderous. They go to Davix estate, and they pretty much steal the Ebon Hawk, and yep, that's what happens in Taris. Oh, and you also escape the bombardment of Taris, because apparently the Sith fleet decided that the search for Bastila was taking too long, so destroy the planet. So, yeah.
No, my favorite world.
Yeah, so that's what happens. So, since you mentioned that, Django, I guess I'll let you be the first to say what you think of this part of the game.
So I would say it's the closest thing that we can get for an RPG exploring something close to Coruscant. This is what Taris resembles to me when it comes to like this giant city world where you're kind of going through, you're exploring the top and seeing like the humans being super racist. Then you go to the bottom, and it's just like decrepit and it's just terrible over there. And then you explore the very bottom, and you see the absolute worst of the worst happening over there, and with the rat ghouls and everything. So you kind of get a mix of everything in this world alone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I see is like the further you go down, it's like worse. The first place is like the rich place, you know? Well, at least it's just good for humans. And then the second place, this place is a full-on ghetto with a bunch of crimes, and, there's literally huts and swoop gangs, walking around, gangs constantly fighting each other. And the Sith, for some reason, does not care what happens down there because, you guys fight around. We won't police anything.
Well, the Sith, they only go down just to explore the escape pods, but they really seem to not like the swoop gangs attack their troops, so they're more like, why don't we just stay up where we're in control? Like, that's pretty much what their mentality is.
Yeah, and then the third place, this place is even more depressing than the second one. Just like, these people are so poor. When you first arrive, like, the two guys are basically begging you to give, like, 3 credits.
5, actually.
And that's 5.
Yeah, it's 5.
And now that's sad. And then, these outcasts are basically groups of dying people. And then there's literally a quarantine location where some of them are like, might possibly turn to freaking rackles or something. And then the very bottom, you have the sewers where like literal slavery is going around. And it was like, wow, it gets worse the most you go down.
Yeah. Rat ghouls, yeah, those are some nasty, ugly beasts. And I'll tell you right off the bat, this is definitely one of those parts in this game that feels like a horror game. Like,
Yep,
it
I
really
agree.
does feel like a horror game at times. And it's not the only part of the game. We'll get to later another one. But yeah, this is definitely one of the closest for that.
And especially the first encounter is kind of terrifying, and especially when fighting it for the first time, and you're playing it on hard mode, your team is going to be obliterated really quickly. So I would recommend staying next to that gate and just kind of going back and forth and hitting the rat ghoul.
Uh, there's that. I never played the game in hard mode actually. I always played on easy, but then I've been playing it more regular and normal.
I mean, there's like a separate side plot about finding the rat hole serum itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there's this one guy called Gurney, I think. This guy was trying to sell the serum to the criminal gangs, and, the doctor wants you to, find a cure so he could use that to help people. So if it gives you a choice, are you gonna, use this for people to get cured, or are you gonna do it for your monetary benefit? At the end, it doesn't really matter because the whole planet is gonna get blown up, so don't feel anything guilty about your moral choices. It will not matter at the end.
Well, it matters for one reason, and that is one of the mechanics that we have to discuss about this game. And it is that this game has a morality system. One of the first, actually, for RPGs, as far as I can tell, because I don't recall any previous RPGs having a morality system where, good or bad. Because I know Bioware adopted this in its later RPGs, Mass Effect, with what is it, the Paragon and what is the other one, the Django?
Renegade.
Yeah, Paragon and Renegade. So, which basically they're taking light side and dark side. So I know that. So Bioware was definitely one of the first to make this mechanic, and yeah, this is one of the first ever RPGs to implement it. So your choices here, dialogue choices as well as even actions, but mostly your dialogue choices, will determine if you get light side or dark side points. Pretty self-explanatory. Light side points for doing good deeds, for being selfless, and dark side for being as selfish and as evil and egotistical as you can be. So it's your choice, and your choices will definitely determine if you're going more on the light side or the dark side. So yeah, this is the first time we get a morality system of sorts, and yeah. And while, yeah, you're right, the one that the serum will definitely mean nothing in the end because Taris is destroyed, it does still go for your morality system. So if you give it to...
No, that's like in the grand scheme of the universe, your actions will not matter at all.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah. But for gameplay reasons, the reason is to get light side or dark side points, as well as either getting a few credits or getting more credits. And so...
But I wanted to discuss about the first floor, the very top side.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the top place is like on the surface looks very, rich. People are living peacefully together, but that's actually a delusion because the Sith are actually controlling it, and they maintain, the appearance of everything is right. And then when you actually go outside your apartment for the first time, Sith soldiers are literally attacking people because they are aliens, and we can see how the aliens are treated as second-class citizens in this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not just the aliens, but actually, like, you see other people just kind of yelling at aliens, and even children like bullying this poor Ithorian, and you choose whether you want to side with the Ithorian or like, hey kids, I'll help you throw rocks at the Ithorian or something like that. Be dark side and stuff, and be super cruel.
Comically evil, like why?
Yes. Yeah, that is...
And then there was this crazy old man who literally has this anti-alien league, which is like, we must get rid of all these aliens and kill them, and like, even the people around him is saying, hey, I don't like aliens either, but this old bastard is crazy. The Sith has to deal with this maniac. Like this old man is so crazy that even the other races are like, hey, I may be racist, but I'm not that, evil.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so the more you see on Taris, you're gonna have plenty of of side quests and subplots that you can pretty much tackle. So yeah, you pretty much have your choice on at what order you want to tackle those side quests or and the main plot. Of course, once you finish the main plot, you'll pretty much never be able to revisit Taris. So if you want to 100% complete it all, you have to go for all the side quests and all of the subplots and stuff before tackling the end of the main plot, going to Davek's state. Because once you go to that state, yeah, there's no going back. So you definitely, if you're going completionist route, you really have to go really well in your checklist. Otherwise, you're gonna be missing stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cool side quests, including doing the oh god, what was it? The dueling, like a gladiator fights.
Oh yes.
And now, if you get hit, in the beginning, I think the first 4 or 5 matches, they're non-lethal.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can unlock a 6th one, and actually, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but if you convince this Mandalorian, who was this former champion, to do it without the making it lethal, you can do it and get the fame and all that, including his blaster, but you get dark side points at the same time. So do you want to risk that? That's totally your choice.
It's also non-canonical, so just don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fascinating. There's that. But yeah, so some things can actually, like if you actually talk specific individuals or provide specific info and stuff, you can actually get the game to pretty much give you different types of feedbacks. Like sometimes you can actually not get dark side points or light side points, and sometimes you can. It really depends on how you trigger specific things. Like it definitely goes into your actions, pretty much defining how the rest of the game will go. So yeah. Indeed. And what else do we gotta discuss about Taris, guys?
Let's see. The swoop battle between Brejik and Gadden. Yeah, that's an interesting part.
The Tool Gangs, the Hidden Bags, and the Volkars. Yeah, that definitely was interesting, yeah. Gotta mention Davik, the estate. The crime lord that if you owe him money, he's gonna send his bounty hunters pretty much kill you. And he did it to several people in Taris. Like the guy just didn't care if you were a good person or a bad person. If you owe him money, yeah, no, you gotta pay him, otherwise you're dead. Like what a scumbag. But then again, he's a crime lord, so I guess that's why he's a scumbag. Because crime lords usually they just care about their money and their power and fame, etc. Like the Hutts.
And there are 2 huts, which I found it really weird. One is like on the Taris was that place. The place with the dueling arena.
Yeah, the 2 huts are in the 2 cantinas. The cantina in the upper terrace and the one in the lower city, which is the Javier's cantina.
Yeah.
I mean, the upper terrace part is weird because I find it hard to believe that the Sith would just let a hut operate. We all know that most huts are up to no good, and they mostly involve themselves with criminal activity.
Doan, I think you're being racist. Not all huts are like that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, pretty much all
Most
huts
of them are.
It
is a statistically proven part.
I think the reason why the Sith don't give a shit is because they know that if the Hutts try to do something, they're going to get completely squashed up to no good if they go up against the Sith. Because if you look very closely into what's happening on Taris, several people will tell you that the Sith are pretty much ruling Taris with an iron fist. Like, it is absolutely difficult to get any sort of uprising or any sort of that. Like, not even the Subcans can do anything against them. So, really, the Sith are just dominating the planet. The only reason that your character seems to be able to do much stuff is, well, aside from being small enough to be insignificant to the Sith up until you storm into their military base, they pretty much are like completely in control of the planet, at least the upper city section. The lower city and the under city, they just couldn't care less about what happens down there. So, especially the under city, they really gave less of a shit. They only would go just to salvage the escape pods and that's it. Like, they didn't really care at all about exploring anything in the under city. That's pretty much why I don't give a shit. So yeah, is there anything else you guys want to discuss about Taris?
And what was it? There was like a medical part where you actually use security skills. You actually see Republic soldiers on a Bacta tank. No, not Bacta, Kotor tank, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because Bacta, as far as I know, has yet to exist in this time.
Yeah, that was Upper City with that doctor you interacted who you can give him the serum. I forget his name.
Selka.
Zelka. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Him carrying the Republic soldiers, were those soldiers from the Endar Spire, or they already were there before?
I think
Endar.
it's the Endar.
That's interesting.
And if you're on the very bottom, the outcast land, you could actually meet a Republic agent.
Yeah. Yes, you encounter him, he's near everyone's escape pods, but there's a problem. He's infected with the Rakghoul disease. And no matter how it goes, he dies.
Yep. I mean, if you do actually cure him, right? He for some reason runs up and then just gets killed by a Rakghoul, doesn't he?
Yeah. Doesn't change. So, there you go.
Yeah, no matter how good you try to do, you can't save people from their own stupidity.
Yep. Indeed. Well, anything else to discuss Taris? Or shall we move on now to the next planet?
Just really quickly. I like how you start off with nothing, but just like with Karth with you, and then eventually you kind of grow into this like big team. You pretty much meet everyone on this world. Salbar, Mission, T3M4, Canderous, Bastila. Pretty much everyone is here, minus like a few in Dantooine and Kashyyyk as well. I think there might be another one in Tatooine. But yeah, pretty much everyone is in Taris. And I actually love the interactions. They're depending on who you pick earlier on. The interactions between each of your companions as you're walking around, they just talk with one another. And I actually don't see that in a lot of RPGs nowadays. They're just kind of just like they talk only to you, but they don't really talk to themselves at all. But I've only seen it in this game that they just like openly talk, and then you can just interact with their conversation. But one of the funniest ones was when, it was when Mission and Bastila.
Ah, yes.
And
I think I know what you're talking about.
I think you guys know what I'm referring to.
Oh, yes.
But basically, they're having conversation, and I don't remember how specifically it goes. So maybe you guys can chime in, CJ.
I actually do know how it goes. Since
know
I
what
pretty
you're talking
recently played a game. So basically, Mission is like, hey Bastila, have you ever used the Force to, just teach somebody a lesson, somebody that's ticking you off?
Yeah.
And then Bastila's like, I would never do such a childish thing. And then Mission is like, childish? What is this? Some sort of a? Is this some sort of an
Like,
insult?
you're not much older than me. Don't act like you're
Yeah.
something like that. And then Bastila like uses the Force to put Mission to the ground, and Mission is like, "Bitch, what the hell was that?"
And then Bastila's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Let's just focus on the working hand.
I think you're being a little clumsy.
Yeah, I mean, that just indicates like, despite all the Jedi type of a calmness and what the tenets she emphasized, she's as petty as everyone else in the crew.
I found Bastila the most funniest of the bunch just because of her how much she takes herself seriously. That if you try to interact with her in like a joking way or a flirty way, she just doesn't understand it, and she's just kind of flabbergasted that you're joking or something because she takes herself so seriously all the time. And it's just like, just relax for once. Like, not all Jedi are like this, but
Yeah. Yeah, and whereas Scarf, he's definitely more. I mean, he has joked a few things, especially when talking to Bastila. Bastila, how did the Bulkers capture you? Like, don't you have your Force powers and your lightsaber? And then she says, "Oh, Force powers were exhausted by man meditation, and the lightsaber was misplaced." And Scarf just laughs his ass off.
Or it's like, isn't that against the Jedi code or something?
Yeah, he did say that. Isn't that against Jedi or something? Well, I know that's kind of the case in the prequel era, where if you lose the lightsaber, yeah, your mess is pretty much gonna get angry at you. But I don't know if that's the case in the Kotor era. So I don't know about that. But yeah, you get plenty of these interactions depending on what companions you bring and stuff. And yeah, I gotta ask you, the Django. Okay. Does this happen in future Bioware games? Dragon Age, Mass Effect? Do your companions talk to each other, or this is just a Kotor 1 specific thing?
Kotor 2, I don't think that actually happened. I may be wrong.
It does happen.
But
it does happen in there.
It does happen. Okay, I may have forgotten. Mass Effect 1 and 2. No, it didn't happen in Mass Effect. And I never got into Dragon Age. So yeah, in the future they just never really did that, because I don't know. I just found that the most like there are some really funny conversations they have with one another and great dialogue. I'm just surprised they just never did that with any other games out there.
You'd think they would have done it because, they were the ones that started this, and with their next sequels, they could do, especially with something like Mass Effect, because, Mass Effect, because there's no established continuity in a big sci-fi franchise, they could pretty much do whatever they wanted. Like, the potential for all these types of conversations was limitless in there, but for some reason they didn't do it? Really? Nothing?
Yeah.
That stinks. That stinks. So, there is that. Okay, so I guess now, shall we now move on to Dantooine?
Let's do it.
Okay, so your character and his crew escape from Taris in the Ebon Hawk, and they pretty much go to Dantooine, the Jedi Enclave. Yep, where pretty much the entire Jedi Council they are now stationed in. So yeah, you go there, and now there's one thing about your character is that he's been getting these visions of sorts in regards to Bastila fighting Darth Revan. And oh yeah, that is one thing that we have mentioned. So basically, right now the Sith Lord that's ruling the Sith is Darth Malak, the apprentice to Darth Revan. And Darth Revan, he was pretty much ambushed by the Jedi in his own flagship, and he was ready to face them, but Darth Malak turned on Revan and pretty much killed Darth Revan, but the Jedi were able to escape. So that's pretty much how everybody has been saying the tale of what happened. Bastila even has said it, that's what happened. So that is pretty much what happened, and your character is getting this one vision of that battle, like because of his encounter with Bastila, his first encounter. So yeah, and then he and Bastila go to the Jedi Council to talk, and apparently your character has some very strong force sensitivity, and so the council is like, normally we wouldn't take adults for training, but you are a special case, so okay, we'll train you in the ways of the Jedi. And so they trained you and likely spent several weeks, who knows how much, training, because obviously not on the same day. And then you pretty much do the 3 trials, and the 3 tests that you do. First is knowing the Jedi code, then you build your lightsaber, and then you have to cleanse a grove that is tainted by the dark side. And you pretty much do those 3. Then you're accompanied by Bastila and to pretty much go and explore the ancient ruins on Dantooine that hold the secrets of pretty much the Sith fleet, because apparently Revan and Malak have been getting unlimited amounts of armies and ships to fuel their conquest for conquering the galaxy. And so we need to figure out how to stop them. And apparently Bastila and your character, they got a vision that Revan and Malak visited these ruins. So the council tasks you and Bastila go and explore those ruins. You explore those ruins, you pretty much you manage to open the passage, and you find in there a map of sorts that is called a star map that supposedly gives you the location to this thing called the Star Forge, which is considered the almighty most impressive thing ever, according to the droid that was in front of the door of the star map. So yeah, no idea what the Star Forge is. We just know that it is very, very, very important for the Sith. So yeah. And from there, you analyze the star map, you bring back your discoveries to the council, and they task you gotta go to Tatooine, Kashyyyk, Manaan, and Korriban to pretty much find more of these star maps, to pretty much get all the coordinates together and find the Star Forge. So that's pretty much your quest, and from there, the section on Dantooine ends. So what do you guys think of this one?
And the interesting thing is, like, they actually mentioned an era before the Republic. And see, up till this time, the most chronologically early story in the Star Wars timeline would have been Tales of the Jedi, specifically the Golden Age of the Sith and the Fall of the Sith Empire. And then this droid basically mentioned something, right? How many years ago was, like, the Star Forge was built?
The droid said that it was 10 revolutions around the planet's sun. And that actually, according to Bastila, that's basically like at least 20,000 years. So the droid was actually much older than even when the Republic was first established in 5,000 years ago.
So the presence of an era, which is even before the Republic, is like so interesting to me because that era was never explored, and I thought, yo, how can some era, which is like even before the old Republic can exist, the thought itself is like just fascinating. What could have happened back then?
Yeah. And we wouldn't see that until the Dawn of the Jedi comics in 2013. So it took a long while. But yeah, you're right, definitely. There was more to explore than just the Tales of the Jedi comics.
And in here, we get to finally meet Juhani. And then the story, now if you think about it, it's highly problematic because the Jedi Master was intentionally testing Juhani so that she could get a reaction out of her, so see whether she was a true Jedi or not. And but like, isn't it emotional abuse? I mean, it just shows you that the Jedi aren't really these good people, and gives you a new perspective on how we could view them. This game doesn't really dealt with the idea of Jedi being groups of questionable people, but this one section just shows you like, Jedi are not that good as they're portrayed in most media.
Yeah, obviously in the next game is where we definitely get that much more explored in terms of the gray area. But in here, so basically, Juhani's master, she was basically killed by Juhani in an act of anger, and that pretty much turned her to the dark side. So that is pretty much what happens. Now, the game doesn't really, as far as I know, it doesn't really go too in detail with that, with the backstory. It just gives you like a summary of it. I don't think it actually goes so much more in depth of that. So yeah, it's actually in a lightsaber training duel where Juhani actually goes out in anger and pretty much strikes down her master. It is fascinating.
And I really wanted to focus on the Mandalorian Raiders.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. There's Mandalorian raiders going around just attacking and terrorizing Dantooine, and this random person that had his daughter being killed, he tasked to pretty much just go and kill the Mandalorian raiders.
The weird thing about this is Candace does not seem to have any issues when you actually do agree with the man to kill the Mandalorians. In fact, when you actually go and fight against the Mandalorians in the game, Kendra is like, let's go! And then kill Mandalorians. And, I found that really weird because Kendra does not have any feelings killing other Mandalorians. Okay.
I think because this is like, I mean, Kotor 2, it's going to be a much different story after the events of Kotor 1. So he's like a completely different person. But he's still in his mercenary stages. So he's kind of like, I see the Raiders. I think he mentions this in one of the dialogue entries, like much later. I think when you talk to him, that all the Mandalorians are now scattered, and they're just Raiders and all this other crap. So he really doesn't really care about whoever he fights as long as it's like a worthy challenge. But for other Mandalorians, like I think in Kotor 2, actually, you can actually convince some of the Raiders to actually join him. So he has a disdain for Raiders in general, but like if he's able to convince any other Mandalorian, and I mean, of course it's different in Kotor 2, he'll do so and convince them to be in his ranks.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think this is more the game, pretty much just having Candace as one of your companions. I don't think it's more like, though I know that depending on what companions you have, some story, some subplots and the main plot could actually have some interesting dialogue depending on what characters you have. There's one quest later on where you talk to a specific person, and if you actually have Bastila accompanying you, she's probably like, oh yeah, this guy deserves it, yeah. And then the guy is like, oh, that's pretty heartless for a pretty lady. So if you actually didn't have Bastila there, you wouldn't get that specific dialogue. So it really depends. Like depending on what companions you have, you can actually have unique dialogue happen. So it definitely makes the game more replayable, because it makes you more experiment with what companions you actually have with you. Because sometimes you may have specific companions and you don't get anything, but if you actually spice it up and you bring some others, you could actually get some new dialogue in it. So it makes the game far more replayable in repeat playthroughs, and it makes your repeat playthroughs never be the same. Like there always gonna be some sort of a variation or something unique to see. Like, it's never going to be 100% the same, like, ever. So, and that
I
to me is
agree.
fascinating, because RPGs, they are supposed to be the most, role-playing game. They're supposed to be your experiences where you're more supposed to shape up the story yourself. So the game doing this is pretty interesting, and I don't know other RPGs that do this. Django, does this happen in Mass Effect and Dragon Age? Or depending on what companions you have, you get unique dialogue if you talk specific NPCs?
I'm trying to remember because I don't remember it off the top of my head. Because I feel like this is just super unique and it hasn't been emulated since. I feel like the only game to this day that has done it is like probably Baldur's Gate 3. But that's like a but I don't know of any other RPG that has really done that. Other than
Kotor-
Baldur's Gate.
And Kotor 2, I guess. Yeah, the sequel.
Yeah.
Fascinating. There is that, yeah. Also, when discussing Dantooine, obviously there is the fact that apparently the Metalis and the Sandros are here, and the Sandros have their son missing, Cassius. So apparently, if you actually go searching for him, you can actually find one. I believe it was a data pad in one of the caves in Dantooine, where pretty much says that Cassius was actually killed by calf hounds. So that's actually what happened. And if you actually give the news to the Sandros, the father pretty much is like, oh, damn. And he goes like so morbid, and he just retreats inside his home and pretty much just grieves in loneliness. So yeah. But then the funny part is, if you actually do that before, settling the Metalian Sandro situation, the guy still believes that Cassius Fate was kidnapped by the Metalis. So it doesn't matter if you actually find the remains of Cassius. You're still like, no, yeah, Metalis, they took him from him.
Basically, you solve the family conflict so that the daughter and the son would, get together under the approval of their parents. And there's the option where the main character convinces each other to fight each other. Basically, they kill each other. And then there's the another option where, you convince the son, like, this relationship is never gonna work. So, we should break up. I think that's the solution. But none of this actually matters because at the end, we don't know what's gonna happen. And if you actually go and see their houses in KOTOR 2, their houses are changing into government administrative locations for some reason. And there's no mentioning of what happened to Sendo and Mato.
Yeah, that is indeed odd, indeed. So there is that. And yeah, so that is an interesting subplot happens. Another one that happens is, there's several quests, but I think the other one that you will find on your path, at least like actually going to the grove, is one where you actually have to play detective and with a Jedi companion to pretty much figure out who, like, there was 2 suspects apprehended, and and there was a dead body, and pretty much to figure out who was the one that killed him. And turns out that both the suspects were guilty. Like, one did kill the guy that was dead, but the other one also wanted to do that. But apparently their target was already dead, so he shot the killer in a specific part, and pretty much just he's like limping. So that was an interesting quest in terms of being like a detective of sorts. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I really like doing that one.
Agreed. Yeah, that one is like you have to really listen to the conversations and not just be like you have to rush through it. Oh, I just want to rush through and then just go to the next one. You have to really listen in and choose the different questions and then go back and forth into the different people. But then you figure out like, oh, it's actually both of them that are kind of in cahoots. And you can't just blame one. And if you just blame one, then you let the other one just kind of just go, so you don't really get the full reward. Well, I don't remember if it was like credits or something or what the reward actually was, but less experience, I should say.
It's XP points. Yeah, it's XP points because Jedi don't give you monetary rewards. So
yeah.
So there is that. Yeah.
At least promote me to freaking Jedi Knight or something, you useless bum.
Obviously, he can't do it himself. Though he did relay your actions to the Jedi Council. Though obviously the game doesn't really make the Jedi Council acknowledge that. So it just gives you like you completed the quest, you got your XP. So that's all you got. So, but regardless, it's still a great side quest and stuff. So yeah, and obviously most of the enemies you fight is the calf hounds, and they're kind of easy to kill on these. Normal they can be a bit of a challenge. So you do have to play the game more on the careful side compared to other Star Wars games. Like, this is the one Star Wars game where you're definitely going to be doing the most management possible in terms of not only what to do, but also what items and skills to use, and also what attacks and powers for Jedi. Because you actually don't know what you're doing, or you're just going around just attacking, especially on normal and definitely the hard difficulties. Yeah, you're not going to get much further because the enemies can definitely... They can actually put a challenge. So yeah.
There's an interesting thing about Kandor is like he constantly regenerates health like he's freaking Wolverine or something.
Oh yeah, that's because he has an implant inside him that actually gives him a health regeneration.
And about that, in Kotor 2, this is kind of improved, so every character in your party technically has regeneration, but it's slower than a sloth taking a dump, so there's that.
I don't know if that's because they actually have implants or it's just how the game is assigned. So I'm gonna take it with that's just how the game is assigned. So, but yeah, Kandor is because, as the game says, because he has an implant that self-regenerates. So that's pretty much why. And the trial in the ruins of Dantooine, to get the star map, like, that was pretty fascinating. One Jedi went first before you went. He died.
Yeah, you know what his name is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
his name is freaking Nemo.
Yeah, like Finding Nemo.
Yeah, and then there's a little dialogue tree. When you interact with him, your character has an option to ask him, what kind of name is Nemo?
What does he say?
And he's like, you keep such importance in names and blah, 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 blah. I mean, but, like, I'm trying to wonder, did this game come after the movie? Because I think that was a joke.
After Finding Nemo? You're not gonna believe this one, but they actually released a very close. Finding Nemo released in July 4, 2003. Knights of the Old Republic only came out, what was it, a month after this movie? Like, it was July, I believe?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it came out in July 15, 2003 for the OG Xbox.
Huh.
So, yeah, I don't... It's too short of a time. There's no way they could have just added the name Nemo to the character as reference of sorts or a dig at Finding Nemo. No, it's impossible. Like, there's no way. No, this one has to be in the coincidence side. So, yeah. But it is pretty fascinating. So yeah, indeed. And the test is pretty simple. You first have to go to the two terminals. One tells you have to mention the three specific, worlds that are like the most life-giving, and then the other three that are the most death-giving. So you pretty much go and do that, and yeah. And then you fight the two guardian droids, one that is fire-based and the other that is ice-based, and there you go, and you get the star map, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty fascinating stuff. So yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to discuss on Dantooine?
There's one other thing, is if you go dark side on this world, you can choose to kill Juhani. It's totally up to you. Lose a teammate right there. And there's repercussions to that also, because one other Jedi member was actually friends with Juhani, and she gets so upset, she flees, and she will go to Korriban, and she will greet you there. And she'll be pretty pissed to see you. So I thought that was pretty interesting. If you want to just kill outright Juhani, that there's repercussions to that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Speaking of killing Johnny, people normally say that this game has like two endings, which is the dark side and light side ending. But now thinking about it, the light side ending has 8 variations depending on how you play the game.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is like no. So, you could basically remove Juhani, Bastila, and HK-47 depending on your gameplay style. The first option is none of them appearing at the ending. The second option is only Bastila appearing in the ending. Third option, only Juhani. Fourth, only HK-47. Fifth being Bastila and Juhani. Sixth is Bastila and HK-47. And the 7 is Juhani and HK-47, and 8 is all 3 of them. So depending on your playstyle, you could have 8 variations on the same light side ending.
Fascinating. I guess it's not too dissimilar from Mass Effect 3, where you actually have multiple endings, even though there's only like 3 real endings, if I recall.
I mean, it's not literally a different ending. it's the light side ending, but the difference is like certain characters will not appear in the ending because you're actually able to kill Bastila, you're actually able to kill Johnny, and you're actually able to not bring HK47 to your party.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a
My first playthrough actually was without HK47 because I didn't have the money to buy him. So, yeah. We'll definitely discuss the ending much later on in detail. But so, shall we now get to, I guess, the first planet that we tackle when searching for the star maps? Tatooine?
yeah.
Okay, so now Tatooine. So you first get to Tatooine, you and Bastila get a vision that the star map is in some sort of a cave. So you start exploring Anchorhead, and after fighting some dark Jedi that were searching for you, you have to pretty much get a hunting license to pretty much go explore outside of Anchorhead. You get one from the Circle offices, though you do have to kill get the Tusken Raider leaders, Gaffy Stick, in order to pretty much... That's basically a means of that the Tusken Raiders no longer doing any trouble to the Circa, because apparently the Tusken Raiders are raiding all the sandcrawlers and personnel from the Circa outside of Anchorhead because they're mining stuff. And so Circa's getting pissed about that, and they task you to pretty much take care of them. So yeah, you can do that, or you could go for more peaceful negotiations if you find a translator for the Sand People dialect. And to do that, you have to find a translator droid. And so, who is the translator droid, Django?
The meatbag lover, HK47.
Yep. So this is where you find HK47, and yeah, you can get him for 4,000 credits by buying him from Yukalaka in Anchorhead.
I prefer the direct method of threatening
Yep.
store owner to
Yes.
reduce the price by 2,000.
Oh.
Yeah, I always do that even on my light side runs. Always do that.
You know, the weird thing about that is like if you actually do that, after it's like, your behavior is very childish and I do not approve of it. But she doesn't actually do anything to stop you from doing that, so like, yeah, I don't see you actually having any problems, so why comment?
I guess there's that, yeah. But yeah, so you get HK47, and yeah, from there, as long as you do have to kill a few Sand People on the way to the Sand People Enclave in order to pretty much get their uniforms and disguise yourselves.
Make sure not to mention the fact that you killed the Sand People when you actually use HK47 as the translator, because they will turn against you.
About that. Actually, make sure to not even engage the Sand People, even in the outsides of our enclave. Because if you actually do that without wearing the uniforms, no, even if you're like on the entrance of the south entrance, like all the way to the other side of the map, and you don't go to where the Anchorhead settlement is or the east of the dunes, like even if you just kill them there, like even if you get the uniforms and you manage to get into the turrets and everything, you're still gonna get all the Sand People going after you. Like you won't even get a dialogue choice. It happened in my most recent playthrough, the first time that it ever happened to me, because apparently usually I put the Sand People uniforms in the same part where the Sandcrawler is before going to the Sand People Enclave. So you have to pretty much get these uniforms and HK47 equipped before going into the area where the Sand People Enclave is. So once you get there, you pretty much don't attack anybody and try to get around the mines, and so you can pretty much actually do the discussions with the Sand People. Because if you kill any Sand People in the area of the Sand People Enclave, yeah, forget about it. You might as well just remove the uniforms and just pretty much go around killing everybody.
And before we get further in the plot, I have to mention that this is the planet where we get to deal with 3 plots. One is with Johanny's brother, Rip. The second is with Bastila's mother. And then the third is with Candaris's Mandalorian soldier plot.
Let's go with the actual canonical version of what happens. So you get HK47 to pretty much translate shit from the chieftain. So you pretty much have to get some moisture evaporators. You get them for the chieftain, and then they give you the map to the Eastern Dunes and even his gaffy stick, and you go to the Eastern Dune Sea. You kill a crate dragon by luring it into killing some mines with the help of Comet. And so, yeah, you do that. You find the star map. And, yeah. But then something happens. So once you get the star map and you're leaving the cave, what happens, guys?
Bitch ass Kylo Nord appears.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so... Yeah, so we forgot to mention that in your playthrough on Taris, you see this bounty hunter called Calo Nord. He's working for Davik, and he was presumed dead when you escaped Taris, but no, he actually survived, and he managed to get tasked by Darth Malak to pretty much go and kill you and take Bastila as prisoner. So, yeah, so he's back. He brought a force with him to pretty much go and do exactly that, and you kill him.
What's funny is that in the beginning in Taris, like if you can first encounter him in one of the cantinas, and he shoots down two guys, and then if you try to talk to him, like, hey, how's it going? You're just like, I saw how you shot those guys, and he'll be like, leave now, or just like, don't talk to me, and he just gives you a 3-second countdown, and if you don't stop within that 1 second, he will shoot you outright, and I think he automatically kills you, from what I remember.
Yeah, and even if you manage to survive, you can't kill him because the game actually puts him in invincibility mode, so you can't kill him either way.
Yeah, for story purposes, yeah. Well, it would have been fascinating if the game actually let you, kill him before or something. Something like what you can do in, I think in Baldur's Gate 3, you can actually kill NPCs and change the story altogether. And I think in Fallout you can do that. I don't know about other Bioware RPGs. Does that happen to Django?
In Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, where you can actually kill an NPC that, even though he has a big role in the story, if you kill him, the story actually changes so much, even though you were not meant to kill him.
It can vary. I mean, especially if you let some pretty key and important characters die, it can radically change the story for sure. But not just regular NPCs,
Expecting too much for a 2003 Xbox game.
I guess so, yeah. I know Bethesda games also are guilty of not letting you kill important NPCs before the moments that they're supposed to die. So it's not a culture only thing, but I know there's some RPGs where you actually can go and pretty much, kill certain NPCs. I know Fallout 3 does it, and I think Skyrim does it. Believe you or not, but there are some NPCs you actually can't kill in those. So yeah, definitely, it would have been interesting if you could actually kill Calo Nord here, or other people before. So it would have been fascinating. So yeah, you kill Calo Nord, you get the store map, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the Tatooine section, as far as I can tell. So yeah, any more thoughts you guys have on the Tatooine section?
I mean, this is interesting in a way that it actually explores the Tusken Raider side of the story, because the Tusken Raider describes that, like, we are not the savages, actually, because, the settlers in this planet actually rob our resources, and they're the one who's disrespecting our land, and, they're the invaders and all that stuff, right? So it makes you think, right? Mm-hmm. If you only watch Attack of the Clones, it makes you look like Tusken Raiders are savages and, they attack people for no reason. But you could also see that from the Tusken Raiders' perspective, they were also attacked by the settlers. Mm. And their people were not treated well by the settlers either. Their people might have also got killed by the Huts and the settlers. So it gives you a new perspective on the Tusken Raiders. Are they just savages, or are they trying to punish the invaders for disrespecting their home planet and their people?
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. As far as I know, I think the only other Star Wars media that definitely explored way more the Sand People and not made them, seem like the bad people was, I think it was The Mandalorian in Disney Star Wars.
Season 2.
Yeah, so...
In EU, they also do it with, the introduction of the characters Sharad Had and Asherah.
Well, yeah, but that's one character. I'm talking without, having somebody from the bloodline of the Sand People. Like, actually an outsider being able to talk to them and actually, getting good terms with them. So, yeah.
Sharad Had was a Jedi, so he was originally an outsider.
Yeah, but he is part of the Tusken Raiders camp, so...
Yeah, no, I want to add to that is that, yeah, this is like the first time we really see that Tusken Raiders as actually being like not savages and actually just trying to do their own thing, but because of this conflict with the settlers that's been raging on for like, what is it, like hundreds of years or thousands of years at this point. It's just like, it's honestly resembles a lot like Native Americans and how they were perceived, and how they've been destroyed, and you understand their plight of what they're going through in Kotor 1. So I kind of like how they kind of humanize the sand people and not just complete savages.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there's always two sides of the conflict, right? So it makes it easier to understand why certain groups of people would do something if you see the other side's perspective instead of, dehumanizing them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
indeed, yeah. Indeed. I find it interesting that Anchorhead existed even almost 4,000 years before episode 4. So I do find that fascinating, if you ask me. So that is pretty interesting. Anything else to mention on Tatooine?
There's still the huts. Oh, there's one hut. And then the interesting thing about this is there's also a soup race in here, but this soup race is not recognized anywhere. So basically, if you race in Tatooine's race, you don't actually get paid. You get paid by something called race bonds, which you could actually sell it to this guy on Yavin Station. And if you actually mention this fact when you go to Manaan that, oh, I used to race in Tatooine, and the race people are saying like that guy is not running a legitimate business and nobody recognizes themselves as legitimate, so what you're saying doesn't really matter.
Well, that's something.
And there was like this plot about this man and a wife. This man is a hunter, but he flirts around the girl, other women, and it's mentioned that this man also cheats with other women. So this wife messes up with this man's hunting droid in an attempt to kill him. Remember that?
Oh, yes, yes. You see, what I do is I could help you, but you gotta give me something for it. As a means of a punishment, that's what I do. Because, the guy, I mean, yeah, he's, well, he's really kind of a cheater and an asshole at times, so... Yeah, that's basically my way of doing. I could help you, but you gotta give me something in return. And so he get...
Yeah, I would. I mean, the wife is also deranged. The fact that that almost drove him to kill him.
The droids actually can't kill him if you let more than one explode.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the wife definitely wanted him dead on that one. So-
Also, if you're female, you will see how. If you're a female character, like you will see, like he's a scumbag because he will start flirting. I think flirting with you or something, and it's just like, yeah, I'll just let you just go. I don't care about you.
he actually does flirt a little bit with Bastila at one point.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy is a scumbag, but just letting him die while he's in the middle of the desert seems kind of weird. So, save him, but get a reward.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you deserve to die either, but I don't think you're a good enough person to just get away with being free. So there's the...
So, yeah, a middle ground. I'll help you, but you gotta give me something.
Yeah, that.
So, yeah, that's definitely what I do. So, yeah. Indeed.
And one interesting thing is, like, if you play the game, like, there's this character called Comet Fortuna.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm seriously wondering why his name is Fortuna and happens to be a Twi'lek. The game doesn't mention, nor any source seems to mention it, but I'm wondering if this guy is actually an ancestor of Bib Fortuna.
I mean, he could be. Who knows? But... Or maybe it's just a reference to episode 6. Who knows? I mean, it wouldn't be surprised to me that the Bioware were fans of Star Wars, before while doing this game. I mean, when you mentioned to Fortuna that, look, I have your father, that is actually a hidden reference to the misquoted version of "Look, I am your father" from Empire Strikes Back. So if they can put hidden references like that, then yeah, maybe Comet Fortuna. It's probably just a reference to be Fortuna. So could be just that.
And there's also a store on Dantooine which sells a belt called Corriban belt. I mean, it has no story reasons for mentioning that, but it's just a belt, right? And it says Korriban, so maybe it belonged to a long away ancestor of Lando Calrissian or something. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Indeed. So yeah. Anything else to mention on Tatooine?
Suzuka, yeah, Zerka Corporation is. If this is your first planet, you'll see Zerka Corporation for the first time, and their actions of being controversial is shown here because they originally wanted you to kill the Tusken Raiders to get their Gappy sticks, but if you use the more pacifist solution, you don't need to. But their presence will be more relevant in the Kashyyyk level, but
Oh,
you could
yes.
just think of it as a prologue to their storyline in
Oh,
here.
yes. Oh, yes. And speaking of Kashyyyk, shall we get now there?
Yep.
Okay. Well, the party arrives to Kashyyyk and, yeah, searching for the star map. As usual, Bastil and your character get the vision. So you go and explore. Now, in this one, you might actually want to take Salbar with you because this will, let's just say this will begin a quest in which, well, you have to pretty much go to underneath the Kashyyyk forest floor. You have to get there. But to do that, you need to use a basket to pretty much lower. However, if you use it, you're not allowed to do so, and you need to speak to the chieftain of the Wookiees, Chundar. And so you go with him, and Chundar decides to. He pretty much would keep Salbar with him, and while at the same time tasking you to go and kill a crazed Wookiee in the Shadowlands. So you have to go and do that, and you go and kill the Wookiee, and you try beating him in battle, but then turns out that this Wookiee is actually the father of Salbar and Chundar. How did this happen? Well, turns out that Friar, the father of both, so turns out that the reason why Salbar is not in Kashyyyk and ended up with mission is because he was exiled from Kashyyyk because he oversaw that Chundar was making shady negotiations and blackmails with Sorga Corporation to pretty much enslave the entirety of the Kashyyyk, the Wookiee population. And so Salbar overhears this, and he pretty much is very angry and uses his claws to pretty much attack Chundar. And Friar sees that, and he does not believe Salbar because in the culture of the Wookiees, using the claws for attacking, especially as claws to pretty much just claw your way into somebody and leave scars, yeah, that is a huge offense. So Friar saw that and he pretty much banished Salbar, and that ended up being a mistake because apparently Freyr was pretty much just he was forced to be driven all the way down to the Shadowlands, and Chundar pretty much took control of the entirety of the Wookiee civilization. And so now going back to the present, after you bested Freyr, you got two choices. You can either kill Freyr and pretty much just report to Chundar, and yeah, pretty much that's done, or you could go and get Baka's ceremonial blade, because apparently that was split into two, and the hilt is with Chundar, but the blade itself, that actually remained in the Shadowlands, and it was lost in a ritual fight a long while ago. So you had to pretty much lure the beast and pretty much kill the beast and get the blade. So you managed to do it, you get the blade, and that pretty much you give it to Friar, and that pretty much gives him the chance to pretty much climb up in the trees. And he'll be waiting for you to meet him to pretty much free the Wookiees from the Sorga Corporation and from Chundar. But before you do that, go and get the star map. But on the way, you also find Jolie Bindo, and an old exiled Jedi who he pretty much made his home in Kashyyyk. And you talk to him, and he joins you, and he pretty much helps you to get into the star map. You get to the star map, and after dealing with a few discussions and a battle, you pretty much manage to get the star map coordinates, and yeah, you pretty much get out of there. Then you pretty much have to side with either Friar or Chundar in terms of who you're gonna support for the Wookiee rebellion. You side with Friar, and yeah, you pretty much kill Chundar, and yeah, all things go well. And then going back to your ship, you see the Wookiees rebelling against the Circa Corporation, and yeah, Circa completely wrecked, and yeah, Wookiees are in your debt, and you pretty much leave with the star map. So, yep, that's Kashyyyk in a nutshell. So, guys, what do you got to say about this one?
Speaking of Zerga, this will not be the last time you will be seeing them.
Yeah.
You mentioned Baka's sword, and Baka is later revealed in other sources to be the ancestor of Chewbacca.
Interesting.
So everything is connected.
Yeah. So there is that. The Django, what do you think of Kashyyyk?
It's fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think there's one mission. So in Dantooine, you actually run before you go into the academy on everything, or the temple. You actually run into this guy, and he tells you about these creatures, these dark side creatures called I forget the name, Tarentarax or Tentarax. Apparently, these are crazy dark side beasts that were involved in this in the Great Hunt, like years and years ago, and they were created by the Sith during the Great Sith War, and they were just kind of unleashed as war beasts, and they were a menace at the time until the Great Hunt kind of destroyed their numbers. In Kashyyyk, you actually get your first encounter, or your first encounter with one of those beasts, and definitely pretty challenging at first. And it only gets a little bit more tougher with another level. I'm just gonna mention right now, and you're gonna have to fight two of those things. So fighting one of them was definitely a challenge, but I actually thought the story behind them was actually pretty interesting. And there's I think there was a Tales story that actually explored a lot of the events, or one event for the Great Hunt. With members from Knights of the Republic. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
We actually tackled it in a podcast months ago. Shadows and Light, Star Wars Tales 23.
That's a pretty good story.
Yep.
So, yep. Indeed. So, the Tarentarax is definitely one of the hardest enemies to kill in this game. Mostly because they have some sort of immunity to the Force. Because of them being Darksiders, and they also are on the pretty hard to kill just on raw attacking alone. So you actually will need to not only get pretty good defense, but also have your attack power and everything the strongest that it can be, especially when you get to one of the later planets. In here, just phase 1, but later on, as you said, Django, you're going to be fighting too. So Tarentarax are definitely not easy to kill. So you definitely have to do the best that you can. So yeah.
And through this game, we are added with another comically evil corporation, such as Weyland-Yutani, Umbrella Corps, and then we have Circa Corporation as an addition.
I guess there is that, yeah.
You guys know what the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is, right?
Oh, of course. They're from freaking Alien.
Circa is so evil that they actually support slavery. And I'm really thinking, what is the Republic doing? Do they also have business with the Republic?
Circa? I didn't know they had business with the Republic. I thought they were only with the Sith.
I mean, they're pretty much like a galaxy-spanning big corporation, so they have business with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see Circa in... you see them, of course, in Tatooine, in Kashyyyk. You also see them in Korriban, though. And Korriban, as we know, well, that's Sith-controlled, so...
They don't give a shit. They want to make money. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And the Sith will not really have any ethical concerns about the things Circa would do.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So yeah. Gotta mention that I find Kashyyyk is very interesting to explore, and this is the other part of Kotor where I feel it feels like a horror game when you're in the Shadowlands, because it's all pretty dark and you hear some whispers of the wildlife and stuff, and it can be kind of terrifying a bit. Especially when you just see the entire hallways of the Shadowlands and you don't really see much, and when you see a few stuff, like it can definitely be a bit on the creepy side exploring it. Like, it's not really that pleasant.
I also got plenty things to mention, but the first thing is, since this was 2003, the pronunciation of the planet is Kashyyyk, and every time I hear people talking that, it triggers me a lot.
Yeah, its pronunciation changes a lot. Some say Kashyyyk, some say Kashyyyk. Like, it changes. And even Star Wars media always goes from one to the other. It's not like Coruscant, where that is pretty much defined that it is Coruscant, but there are those weird sources that like to call it Coruscant when it is not.
Before there was episode 1, yeah.
Yeah, but in regards to Kashyyyk, yeah, some call it Kashyyyk, some call it Kashyyyk. It's odd, so that one's weird. So yeah.
There's also the plot with this man who's trying to basically use this other guy in depth So what happened is basically there's a man and a business partner, I guess, and this man's crew was essentially killed by this other guy. So basically enslaves this other man to work for him until the evidence. What was it? Do you know what I'm trying to talk about?
Yeah, I think I know which quest is. That I think there was like a dispute between the two, and they got one of the colleagues killed, and you pretty much find recordings of a droid in the Shadowlands that pretty much confirms who was the killer.
Yeah. So my decision is like I was telling the other man to kill him because can't get away with that.
And in the Shadowlands, there's I mentioned the Terenterac, but also there's the corpses, the Wookiee corpses you find.
Oh yeah.
And you just start to see this litter, and then you just follow it, and then you eventually find somebody just ambush you, a bunch of Mandalorians, and they're kind of tough. So even though they're not, I think one of them is a captain or something, but they ambush you, and they can give you a hard time if you're not prepared.
They're cowards. They fight you when you got no weapons equipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, the quest, I mean, fighting them only activates when you get your weapons up, so that's really annoying.
Yeah, they're cowards. They're fucking cowards. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm pretty sure Canderous gets really pissed with them too.
I actually do not have Canderous in my group there, so I'd have to take a look at that. So that will be fascinating.
And then there's this other quest about this Wookiee missing, right? And then this Wookiee was so respected by his community, but this other Wookiee, after discovering this Wookiee was also responsible for the Circa slave trade, decides to kill him.
Interesting.
You didn't play this quest?
I'm not tackle all the side quests. The Django probably has. So
Yeah, I've played that. That one was interesting.
It was interesting the fact that this Wookiee decides to get himself punished because he wanted to maintain the appearance of this other Wookiee being this honorable man, but your character basically says no, you're not the one who's wrong. You're actually this other Wookiee was a betrayer who sold your people to the corporation. So, I mean, that's really interesting.
Yeah, indeed. Something else about Kashyyyk that I find fascinating, the enemies that you face. I believe there's some Kinraf, obviously the Wookiees, the ones that are Silent Chundar, and Mandalorians, and also these two droids that you fight at the very end when you try accessing the star map. So, if you actually answer the questions of the star map computer in the dark side sense, you pretty much get the star map immediately. But if you try going light side, the computer sends two droids after you, and you gotta kill them. So we'll destroy them.
Yeah.
And the computer sees you in action. He pretty much recognizes you, and it's like, the star map is yours. So
I mean, it is an indication of something because Jolie states that, I tried this computer 100 and something times, yet it didn't allow me. But as soon as the player character arrives, it recognizes himself and allows him to interact with the computer. I wonder what that's supposed to mean. Probably nothing important, right, guys?
Or likely just, for the sake of the game or something. Who knows? But
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? It's not important.
yeah. But one thing that is fascinating is this is kind of a visual demonstration of, how the saying goes with Star Wars, where the dark side is the easy pathway for more power, whereas the light side is the one where you pretty much have to earn the power by going to hard work. Well, in this case, it's kind of like that, where if you just go dark side, you get the star map immediately. But if you go the light side, you actually have to work for it more by destroying the droids, and then you get it. So I find that fascinating, that, you actually see visually that, oh yeah, you go light side, you have to work more for it, but you still get it. But with the dark side, you get the quick and easy path. But I thought that was interesting.
The questions droid and the hologram of this mysterious species, which we don't know, ask is interesting because it asks what you need to do in order to accomplish the victory. And the result is that in order to win in a war, sometimes you gotta do things that you're not proud of. Basically, you have to sacrifice your own citizens and in some cases also commit war crimes.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Anything else to mention on Kashyyyk?
Kashyyyk, let's see. No, later. Since, I mean, depending on the missions, you have to backtrack to previous planets, so I'll mention later.
Okay. Django, anything else on Kashyyyk?
No.
Okay, well, now we get to the third planet. Oh, before we get to the third planet, so apparently Darth Malak hears the news that Calo Nord is dead, because you killed him in Tatooine, and he pretty much now sends his apprentice Darth Bandon after you, so so we get that.
Malak isn't so unfair. He says, like, you know, the penalty for failure is dead, but he doesn't kill Admiral Carrot because he says, like, the failure was Calo Nord's fault, not yours.
I mean,
So there's what you can see.
he's not wrong, yeah. So, and Malak has no reason to kill Saul Karaf, so...
I mean, Saul Carrot is indeed a competent enough military commander if you actually read the comics.
I mean, even in this game, you can still get that he's a competent leader, so... So yeah, and then the crew arrives to Manaan, and Manaan is interesting because, see, here's the thing. In Manaan, both the Republic and the Sith can actually have not only their own embassies in there, but can even walk around and even talk to each other. But here's the twist. They can't fight between each other. At most, they can just throw insults, because the very moment that even one of them throws a single punch or anything, the Selkath, they pretty much will go right at him and pretty much put him in imprisonment or whatever negative consequences they get. So...
I mean, yeah. Manaan is interesting, the fact that, you know, both the Sith and the Republic soldiers would want to kill each other, but they cannot. So they're basically, you know, saying like, oh, you roasting each other with words.
Which is freaking insults, which is kind of fun. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it just goes to show how strict Ahsoka can be. Now, why would they go so far of their lengths to pretty much do this for Manaan in terms of, you know, both sides being there, but at the same time not throwing any punches and just saying, fuck your rules, let's just kill each other? See, the reason is because Manaan is the only planet that that is a source of Kolto. And Kolto being, well, the resource that creates the medical liquid that pretty much can heal injuries fast. This was before Bacta, by the way. So this was a predecessor of Bacta. So yeah, and because Kolto is so very important, and this is the only place that they can do it, both sides pretty much have to like, we're gonna have to suck it up and pretty much just respect the rules. So yeah, so that's how it is with the Selkath. And yeah, so you arrive at Manaan and you pretty much see what's going on. So yeah, you have to find the star map, but the vision that you got with your ambassador was the star map was underwater. And how the hell are you going to get underwater? Yes. So you pretty much have to get to the Republic Embassy to get more info on that. And but before you do that, you have to pretty much... You have to infiltrate the Sith Embassy and pretty much retrieve the Republic drone that pretty much was captured by the Sith. And... to do that, you got several options. You either interrogate a Sith prisoner that you got and pretty much was apparently snooping too much into the Republic Embassy, so yeah. Or you could figure out some Sith codes in a computer, or you could pretty much go through like a secret hangar in another part of the Manaan city. So the choice is yours. By the way, you just get into the Sith Embassy. And so you get there and you find the probe, and so this is where you have to explore more under the base, because if you don't, the Selkath authorities will stop you and you get into trial and you die. So you have to explore more into the base so you can find not only the CFR training Selkath apprentices, but you also have to find a data pad from a Sith master that pretty much says that the Sith want to pretty much not only have more of their Selkath apprentices, but also have a strong enough force to pretty much take over Manaan, so they can pretty much say, fuck you and your neutrality rules, we're gonna take over and you're gonna pretty much do whatever the fuck we want. So yeah, you uncover that and you present the data pad to the court on the Selkath courts, and they're like, this shit's disturbing. Okay, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we'll let you go, and we're gonna sanction the shit out of the Sith Embassy for this. So yeah. And then you get the data to Roland in the Republic Embassy, and yeah, he pretty much reveals to you, yeah, so the reason why I wanted this probe back is because we have this station in the Hacker Rift that pretty much is a big source of Kolto for us, a hidden station, one that was created between us and the Selkath secretly. So we lost contact with everybody in there, and we don't know what the hell happened. And so the reason why I wanted this probe is to pretty much have an idea of what happens. And so yeah, now I got the info. We need somebody to go there and see what happens. And so he pretty much lets you get a submersible to pretty much go down and see what happens. And when you get there, things are not what they seem. Okay, so you first find a Twi'lek that is like on the door, and he's like, I seal the doors behind, so like I really don't I sealed it. Like shit's not going right. Like the Selkath, they went crazy. They started attacking us, doing the screams and everything. It's just like, I don't want to get back there. And then you're like, I need to get in there. Like, no. And then he's like, I'll stay here. And then, so, yeah, guy's crazy. And so you pretty much have to venture in. And yeah, you see the Selkath are, yeah, they attack you. So, yeah, so not really cool. And so, yeah. So you venture further, you find the head scientist, Connor Nolan, and Associate Sammy. And so they pretty much reveal that, so they were harvesting more Kolto, and then they find something, but apparently that something reveals that it's a massive Raxan shark, a really big one. And this seems to be the source as to what's driving all the Selkath crazy. And
Wait, you forgot to mention the couple tried to gas you to death.
Oh.
There's that.
Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, they did try to gas you when you first entered the room, but you managed to slice through the terminal, and yeah, you're pretty much fine. So yeah, but yeah, so they tell you that there's this massive Raxan shark that apparently is guiding something, and as you know, it's the star map. So in order to get the Raxan shark out of the way, you have to do either two things. You can either pretty much put like a poison in the in the water, and pretty much it will kill the shark, or you can just destroy the entire Kolto processing machine, and it will destroy the machine and set the Republic back a lot, but at least the shark will not attack you, and the entirety of nature is not harmed. So the choice is yours. And so yeah, and the canonical version is you choose to destroy the machinery, and so yeah, the shark is spared, and it's allowing you to pass to get the star map. You get the star map, and yeah, then you go back with your party. But before you even get to the submersible, you're encountered by Darth Bandon and 2 Dark Jedi. So yeah, you pretty much fight them to death, and you manage to do it, and then yeah, you return to the surface, and yeah, you explain to Roland what happened, and yeah, and then the Selkath apparently decides to detain you again, because detaining you once was not enough. So yeah, they detain you again, and you pretty much explain what happened, and you're truthful about it, that yeah, there was this giant Raxan shark, and this facility, and that destroyed everything. And yeah, they pretty much were like, okay, you did good, so yeah, we're gonna let you go. So yeah, and you pretty much leave, and that's the end of Manaan. So yeah, guys, what do you think of this one?
I wanted to mention the quest involving Jolie's friend Sunry. Remember that quest?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you get it while
That
exploring
quest-
Manaan.
The quest is interesting in the fact that it actually deals with the morality of war, because Jolie's friend here at the surface looks like he was innocently accused by the Sith to be a murderer of this Dark Jedi. Later, if you actually go to the Republic embassy, it is revealed that Jolie's friend actually killed this Sith woman while having an affair with her. And then, the Republic tried to hide the evidence. And then the Sith instead tried to also, mess with the result by placing the medal of Sunray, Jolie's friend. So if you actually go here, you realize that, the Sith are evil, but what Sunray did was also, questionable. So what do you think about this mission?
Django, what do you think?
Oh, I thought it was great. It's very oh man. The first time I actually played it, I was so lost with this whole thing. But until you kind of go through it, and just kind of discover new things about it, when you actually are at the core, it's honestly, it's totally up to you how you want to choose, how you want to proceed with it. But then, do you want to jeopardize not only him, but also the Republic at the same time when it comes to getting that Kolto supply? It's honestly just, it's kind of difficult to kind of summarize at the same time, but it's just I don't know. I just always had. This was honestly the toughest one out of all the choices to proceed with, because it's kind of like there's no choice that's honestly really good. Because like even if you free him, does it honestly mean it's a good choice, even though you let a murderer go, or do you just kind of you know just let him stay in jail, let do his crimes, but jeopardize the Republic at the same time? This one I always found a lot of trouble to deal with.
It is also related to past Star Wars sources because it mentions that Sunry got a medal involving the war with the previous Sith. Now, in case you don't know what the previous Sith is talking about, it's basically talking about the war involving with Exar Kun and Uli Kildroma. So their story is still relevant even to the day of Kotor.
Oh yeah.
You know, Sunry fought against the Sith during the Exar Kun days, and he sees the Sith currently and knows how evil they are. But Sunry is not much different for killing a defenseless woman, so I mean, the choice becomes like, I mean, like Django said, like, should I let Sunry go? After all, he just killed a Sith. But then again, it would be hypocritical for Republic to, speak against the Sith's cowardly and morally problematic decisions while letting Sunny get away with it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It will make the player ask, what should we do? Should I, stay quiet about this? Compromise our values? Or, you should tell the truth and compromise the Republic, their war effort.
Yeah. There is one way that you could do it without getting, any dark side point or anything, but this is only if you actually make it so that you don't actually use the terminal in the Republic Embassy. Because you use the terminal and you slice through it, you find the recording of Sunry killing Elasa. But if you actually never use that, you could actually free Sunry without getting any dark side points or anything. So, and you actually would not even know that he really murdered him. So that is one way to do it, but that's for the player. But since if you now know the knowledge of it, at least outside of the game, as you now know it, then you know that, wait, this guy's a murderer. Actually knows that he's the one that actually killed him. So at least interesting in terms of making the player actually choose in the real world.
What you said only works under the assumption that you don't know. But once you play the game more than once, you already know knowledge of Sunry being.
I actually didn't know for the many times that I played first. It was until I think it was a 7th, 8th playthrough until actually somebody mentioned it to me that he actually did kill Elasa, because I actually didn't know because I never used the terminal because I saw the procedure to it and I was like, this is kind of like tiresome. So I just went interrogating the Sith prisoner and that's how I got the way inside the Sith embassy. So I never used the terminal until one of my more later playthroughs where I actually saw, so he actually did kill Elasa and I actually confronted Sonri about it. So that was actually my first playthrough where I actually didn't go into actually trying to make free Sonri, but it was a long while later on. So,
and there's also interesting thing about this mission is like there's this card player and this Rodian. If you actually look at the credits, you know that the Ferret May, the card player, portrayed by Reno Romano. Reno Romano is known for playing Spider-Man in some media and the narrator for Curious George. But the important thing related to this is Reno Romano actually portrays Revan's voice.
Fascinating. Regarding Manaan, can I just mention the Hackett Reef Station? Like, that is the other place that it really screams Star Wars horror. And it actually reminds me a bit of, say, something similar to like the first level where you encounter the Flood in Halo, or even something similar to, say, the Aliens movie where you're like exploring LB-426, where you're exploring and you don't see anything. You see one survivor nude, but then you don't see, like, until much later you actually get the xenomorphs attacking. And yeah, it gives me those vibes of horror that it just really like it's obviously it's not as terrifying as those two, because those two are more on the terrifying side because it's an RPG and its combat is on the turn base, but still, like, it still gave those horror vibes in the first times that I played it. Like, it is one of those unsettling moments that it's just creepy, and yeah, we don't really get many Star Wars games doing that. So
especially when you hear like the accounts from the people who were attacked by these Selkath who went crazy. They're telling you like, oh, these Selkath went insane and started eating people and just going fucking ape shit and stuff. So it's like there's like one person you interact with is like still in the closet and like stuck in there. He doesn't want to get out, or a lock or whatever. And he is just so just like gone insane over this whole thing that he just like and too scared. It's just like, I'm just staying here. I'm not getting out. It's just scarred me for life.
I mean, you could also do the comically evil stuff by shoving a lightsaber inside the closet.
I actually didn't know that.
You could, you're telling them, hey, get the hell out of the closet, and it's like, if you don't, I'm gonna kill you. And he says like, no, how are you gonna kill me? I'm in a closet. And your character's like, there's an option to literally shove a lightsaber inside the closet.
Oh my, that's news to me actually. Yeah, wow.
I think I did see it before, and then the corpse comes out.
I mean, this game, its morality choices is so comical. Like, it's either being a kind man without any objections, or being the most evil human being possible. The evil options they give you is so comically evil, it's just laughable.
That's... oh my god. That is interesting. Yeah. You know, I actually do wonder what happened to that guy after the events of Kotor 1. Maybe he stayed there forever. That's kind of funny. So, but yeah, and it is fascinating how you actually do have to go by yourself at one point, the Hacker Rift Station, in order to find the two scientists. So this is actually one of the few times in Kotor 1 where you actually get separated by your party and you have to fend off by yourself. So.
Yeah, and the underground where you have to move, you're in this, suit, and this thing makes you walk so slow. It's just like...
It is so slow.
I mean, there's like two incidents in this game where you have to walk slow as hell. One is this section, and the one is like the other section later.
If you ask me, I wish force speed could work in this when using the suits, because honestly, so slow.
Yeah.
Kotor 2 did rectify this problem by having you walk fast, even if you're wearing a suit, but then it looks so ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I remember that, because it's like, it was meant for 30, and then it looked fine, but then now it's in 60, it looks like you're running like in like super speed, like beyond force speed.
Yeah, but my god, those environmental suits are so slow, like really slow. Like, you really need to be patient, because if you're not patient, holy shit, are you gonna get beyond not only impatient as fuck, but you're gonna be like, oh, this is like the worst part of the game. And probably it is, because it's the slowest and you really can't do shit other than just walk and use the sonic emitter. So
yeah,
I think it is the worst
and
part.
If you're not careful, these sharks come out from nowhere and just one-shot you, don't they? Do that?
I actually don't know if they one-shot you, because I always, every single time, I managed to use the sonic emitter before they even get when they're getting close, so I never got hit by them. So
the actual environment looks beautiful enough, so
I guess there is that, yeah. Indeed. And can I say how Manaan is one of the most beautiful places you can see? Like, there, when you're like in the surface, you can just see like the city looks glorious, and then the water just looks amazing. Like, it's one of the best looking places in
The music helps with it too.
Oh yeah, that too. So
Very peaceful.
yeah.
the environment is like, once you think about it, the environment is boring as hell because you're essentially in a building.
I mean, yeah,
And
obviously.
you go to the side of the building to the another side of the building. It's just building, right? You see Kashyyyk. You go to various places in the jungle. You're Tatooine. You go to this side, the Anchorhead, and then the Tusken camp. You go to Korriban. You get to go to various tombs, but this is just a building. You go from one side of the building to the other.
I mean, yeah, sure, but the reason is because the planet is entirely, water, it's flooded with water, but yeah, pretty similar to Camino from episode 2, so it's the same type of concept. But fortunately, at least in here, you actually get the Cracker Rift Station to pretty much spice things up in terms of new scenery. So visually wise, I say it's interesting enough. Where it really drags the horrendous is when using the environmental suit. That's where it's the worst. So, but everything else I think is pretty fine. So yeah, indeed. And so anything else to mention on Manaan?
There's the Juhani's side quest
Mm-hmm.
where you finally get to meet the person where enslaved Juhani's family, and you could actually help Juhani like to get over her anger. So you could either make Juhani kill the Malik who enslaved her and her family, or you could have Juhani just let the man die without getting into her anger. It's like interesting thing because Juhani's whole subplot is like her resenting the people and the situations which made her have her life miserable. By she actually grows as a person to forgive these people for what they have done to her and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting. So yeah, there's obviously some other side quests in Manaan which are also pretty interesting. So yeah. So guys, do you now want to discuss the final third of the game, the next part?
Yeah, let's go to the ship.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, before we go into that, if you haven't explored Dantooine and went back and gotten those the Kashyyyk Fett armor and the blaster from the one Rodian, because it's actually pretty good stuff from there, from his store, do it before you go to I think it's the fourth planet. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, fourth planet. Or get the fourth star map. Go back to Dantooine if you can, but if you haven't, then you're kind of screwed. But yeah.
Wait, are you talking about Yavin?
Yavin? No. I'm talking about just if you go with the fourth star map and the Leviathan triggers, then you can't go to Dantooine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here's why. So once you have the 3 star maps from Tatooine, Kashyyyk, and Manaan, you're pretty much ambushed by the Leviathan, Saul Karaf's ship, and use the tractor beam to pretty much capture the Hawk. So in here, you're all gonna get captured. So it all depends on one specific party member to rescue everybody. You have to pretty much choose who, and you can pretty much choose from all of your companions, and except of course yourself, Karf, and Bastila. They're the ones that you cannot be chosen to rescue. So yeah, and in here you pretty much decide who. And as for who it was canonically, I don't know that yet. So I'll get to you back. But whomever you choose pretty much rescues you, Karf, and Bastila. And from there you pretty much go against Saul Karaf to pretty much face him head on. And you do so, and so in his dying breath, he tells Karf one big secret, and Karf is like, "No, damn you, Saul, damn you, Bastila, is it true? Is it really true?" And Bastila's like, "I'll explain to you later, but not here, not while Malak is on his way." Yeah, because Malak was not in the ship at the time that you were captured, so he was away doing some errand, and so pretty much the crew has to get out, and on their way out, they encounter Darth Malak. So he managed to get back from his errand. And Karf foolishly shooting him, and Darth Malak is like just deflecting the blast bolts and force push, so didn't do shit. Yeah. And so they run into the Dark Lord, and Darth Malak is like, "I couldn't believe my own eyes. So tell me, why did the council spare you?" Basically, he was saying that this was a reunion of sorts, and you're like confused. What the hell is he talking about? And then, so here's the review. You get some visions of Bastila and others talking about how the Jedi don't believe in killing their prisoners. No one deserves execution no matter what their crimes, and that the Lord Darkseid is an all too familiar path. And also, what greater weapon is there than the turn your enemy against them? And from there, you see you see again the battle between Bastila and Revan in Revan's ship, and well, there you see then Revan taking off the mask, and dun dun dun, it's your character. Yep. So, turns out that your character all along has been Darth Revan with a reprogrammed mind, because apparently Bastila and the Jedi, they took you out from that wreckage, and they reprogrammed your mind with a new one, or at least reconstructed what was left with a new one, and they've been trying to use you to get to the Starforge, or at least to any secrets that you could find. So that's pretty much what happened, and in the canonical version, Revan is like, okay, well, Okay, well, he had no other choice, so that's fine. And Revan's like, and Malak's like, forgiveness. I was right in betraying you, Revan. You are not fit to rule the Sith. And from there, well, you fight Malak, and he pretty much retreats, and you try to go after him, and he kind of overpowers you, and then you're forced to flee with Bastila staying behind, and from there, well, you pretty much escape with Bastila left behind. So. Yeah, and that's what happened in the Leviathan. So, yeah, before we continue with the next planet, so, guys, what do you think of this one?
Speaking of Leviathan, does the name Leviathan remind you of something?
To me, it reminds me of the face-on meteors from Metro Prime 3. That's what it reminds me of.
No, I'm talking about in terms of Star Wars.
To be honest, not so much, no.
Leviathan is a creature made by the Sith.
Oh, yeah, I know which one you're talking about. But no, honestly, when I hear Leviathan, I really do think more of Metro Prime 3.
Wondering if it's a coincidence on whether the ship is called the Leviathan, or they just put a name which they thought it was cool, because Kevin J. Anderson in the comic he wrote, which is Jedi Academy Leviathan, shows a creature called Leviathan.
Don't know about that one, so yeah. Django, what do you think of this moment, the Leviathan?
I mean, first off, dealing with Karth's arch enemy, Saul Kareth, and him revealing it to Karth, and as you're hearing it, you're like, "What the heck is going on?" And when the first time I was like, "Okay, what's going on?" I actually didn't know anything about the. I mean, years later, it was pretty obvious now. But when I first played through it, and there was this big reveal that you are Revan, I was like, "Oh wow." That is really cool. I did not expect that coming since I was much younger. Didn't expect that at all. But it is. I mean, years later, everybody's like, okay, it's pretty obvious. I mean, if you didn't see this, then whatever. But yeah, it's a great reveal. I loved it though.
Only the most faithful of Star Wars fans know that, and those that have played the game, and I guess Bioware fans. But those that are not in any of those circles, they actually will know that one. Yeah. But in regards to the review, I remember how it was. So I was playing in my laptop the game, and when the review came out, my jaw dropped, my eyes were shocked. I was like, I was a Sith Lord all this time. I was like so shocked and everything. I even told my mom about it, and she was like, so you were the Sith? Why did that happen? How did that happen? Like, I told about that, and she was like befuddled about it. So,
I mean, this connects a connection between the player and what the character they're controlling, because they do not know the history prior to the game, meaning that them not remembering, your character not remembering them being Revan is actually your amnesia too. So in the sense that you not knowing what is happening equals the amnesia from your character. It creates a deeper connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And the interesting thing about this is which character did you use to rescue the main trio?
Okay.
I used Candace.
I used Juhani because she was Jedi and could use stealth. So, Django, which one did you use?
Oh, for freeing everyone in the Leviathan? God. I think I chose either Zalbar or... Oh, man. I think I also used Juhani, too. I mean, I tried with everyone just to see how it was. And, yeah, Candaris definitely seemed like the toughest because he was, like, 1 health, like, pretty low on health when you start. Mm-hmm. I think his thing was, like, you have to, like, get an explosive going on, and then it would look like he's dead, and then he would come back and then just, try to free them or something. But I think, yeah, Juhani and Zalbar were definitely the more easier options from what I remember.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Candaris is voiced by John Saigan.
Yep, rest in peace.
Who also voiced Dash Randar, Shadows of the Empire, Luke Skywalker in the Dark Empire audio drama, and, believe it or not, Uli Keldroma in the Dark Lords of the Sith audio drama.
Yep.
There's
absolute legend.
Rest in peace. And he died in 2017. So.
Rest in peace. Yeah. And I gotta wonder who canonically saved the entire party in the Leviathan.
I'm assuming it's Candace because Candace is the one who actually voices through the speaker if you and your characters do escape.
Yeah, but if you actually notice when you rescue everybody, it could have just been Candace just communicating for everybody. So that's not a means of the game saying, oh, he was the one canonically rescued everybody. So, and it happens after everybody's been rescued. So I don't think that's what it is. But yeah, it is interesting who canonically rescued everybody. And I'm actually looking at some of the guides, and as far as I can tell, I don't really have an answer yet. Maybe the campaign guy will have that. I'll have to see. But who do you guys think it was that canonically saved everybody?
I don't know. I think it's Candace.
Okay, you think it's Candace? Django, who do you think it was?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I can't really say.
Yeah, I can't say either. Maybe in the editing, we'll find the answer there after looking in some guides and stuff. But as for right now, we don't have an answer on that one. So have to see on that. And but yeah, so I find it interesting. The game gives you the choice of choosing one specific party member, and you pretty much have to use that party member to go. So, and you have to equip the party member before they get captured, because once they get captured, you have nothing. You don't have your equipment, you have nothing. Just everything that was already equipped in that character is all you got.
Unless you level up your character to be efficient in hand-to-hand combat, that is.
Well, I mean, yeah, your character, but since your character right now is prisoner, the party member that you chose is the one that you will rely on. So you do have to prepare that party member to have specific equipment and items, as well as skill points and everything. So the skill points and everything, you can pretty much level them up by default, so you don't have to worry about that if you already chose a party member. So it's more the equipment that you need to worry about. So there is that. And yeah, anything else to mention on the Leviathan, guys?
No.
Okay. Now we get to the last planet that has the last star map, Korriban. So Revan, yes, because your character's Revan at this point. Yeah, so Revan and the crew arrives to Korriban, and they pretty much have to get the star map, and so, but in order to get there, they need to get accepted into the Sith Academy. So they have to find a medallion from some Sith students that thought that they could kill you, and you kill them, and you get the Sith medallion, and yeah, the Sith teacher Yutura allows you into the academy. So yeah, there Utar Win, the headmaster of the Sith Academy, greets you and is like, yep, everybody has to gain enough prestige, and the student that gains enough prestige will be brought into the tomb of Naga Sadao in order to pretty much make their final test to fully be accepted into the Sith Academy. And that's the tomb that has the star map. So yeah, that's pretty much your main objective. Get enough Sith prestige, pretty much get into the tomb. And you gain prestige by doing some side quests, like going to kill some renegade Sith students, facing off against a delusional old Sith master, finding some droids in a tomb, so on and so forth. So you do plenty of stuff. And once you get enough prestige, you get into the tomb, and yeah, you have to venture by yourself to get to where the star map is to get a lightsaber there, because there's an initiation present. And of course, in the way, you get the star map coordinates, the last ones. So yeah, and when you're pretty much leaving, so Utar says, okay, you managed to get the lightsaber. Yeah, normally this test would require that you would strike down another student, the ones close to you. But in this case, you're going to be striking down Kotor. And why? Because I need somebody with more talent to take your place, Yutura. And then Yutura's like, no, it is you who's going down. The pupils with me. And that's where you choose who you side with. Do you side with Yutura or do you side with Utar? So, and yep, battle ensues. And yeah, so the character with whomever he sided or however it went, he pretty much, Utar dies. And yeah, you pretty much go out of the tomb and you get your star map coordinates. And that's Korriban in a nutshell. So, what do you think of this one, guys?
Yeah, the canonical option for who to kill is kill both of them. Yeah, that's what it is. You don't side with any of them.
Yeah, so the game does not have whatsoever, with what actually happened. So future guides pretty much say how it went. So, and what was it? The complete Star Wars encyclopedia that says that both of them died?
Yeah, I think it says that It's circumstantial evidence. It's like there's a Jedi turned Sith Lord who's unsure about his Sith career. It is stated that your character kills that Sith, but in order for that situation to happen, you have to kill both Udra and Udar in the game. So, a game cannot have you kill that specific student unless you kill both of them. And it also states the Jedi, the encyclopedia, revealed his identity to both Udar and Udra. That situation happens, you have to kill both of them.
Which obviously, if you're trying the game, is going to be the hardest shit to do because, yeah, both same time they are absolutely strong. So, yeah, good luck with that one, especially in hard difficulty.
But you could actually go to do a different option. First, team up with Udra to kill Udar, and then kill Udra separately.
That's another way to do it. So,
I wanted to notice that the game still shows that the reason for why Sith as an organization is such unstable is because they constantly trying to stab each other, right? You can see this with Udar and Udra. They constantly try to use the player to, get rid of their apprentice and their master. So there's no, how should I describe it? There's no kind of friendship or, the sense of being the same team. They always try to get rid of each other in order for them to get on the top.
yeah. See, there is absolutely no idea on. I guess the complete Star Wars encyclopedia says that both are dead. But then there's is that the only source that pretty much says what actually happened in there, or is there some others?
I think that's the only source that says that.
Interesting. The Django, what do you think of what happened in Korriban?
I loved it. This is definitely one. I mean, I loved most of the worlds, but this one is definitely up there. The different tombs and the history, Juntapal, Mark Aragnos, Tulak Horde, learning. I think my favorite was probably a Juntapal's, just because you actually could talk to him and learn, what transpired and how you actually felt sorry for the guy. So you could either just be you can be redeemed in the end of Junta, and he'll help. He'll give you his sword and stuff. But you can also be bad and just be just fight him outright. But I thought that was the most interesting ones, just to see you can actually interact with a ghost from the past.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, yes, that is a dark side Force ghost. For those that are in denial, because TCW says they don't exist.
Oh no, the Night Sisters in TCW already disproved that Darkseid Ghost isn't possible, so there's that.
Oh, well, there's that, yeah. But yeah, it is definitely fascinating that you can actually talk to an old Sith Force ghost, and yeah, you can even try redeem it actually, and get some light side points, which is fascinating.
And this is also important because what we see is the various things mentioned in Tales of the Jedi. You actually get to visit Nagasado's tomb.
Yeah.
And you also get history lesson based on that, I guess.
I was confused though because I always thought Nagasada died in Yavin 4 and he was kind of just staying there. He didn't get out of. I thought he was stuck there at that point and he was just buried there. I didn't think he would come back to there and then they create a tomb, because I always confused about that when they put that in the game.
I think they just made the tomb to show the importance of Nagasado as Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's fine.
Yeah, they just made the tomb because Wikipedia puts it in quotations, so it's not really actually his real resting place. It's more of just a tomb that was built at the behest of. It was one that was built at the behest of the Sith Lord Tulak Horde. So it's more of just honoring Nagasadao, not actually having his remains. Because you notice in the game there's no tomb; it's just a star map. So,
do you think it wouldn't be called a temple of Nagasadao?
I guess they wanted to just keep it as a tomb, just to not be too dissimilar to the other three. Maybe that. So who knows? But it's a fake tomb.
I just wanted to quickly mention, that's where you fight the two Terrentrax, and Yeah, that's a pretty challenging fight if you don't know what to do in that. Just yeah, you're gonna fight two of those bastards.
Oh, gotta fight them by yourself.
And when you arrive to Korriban, you realize the Circa corporation is still there. So it makes you realize, like, you may have freed Wookiees, but what you did is really insignificant compared to what the actual size of Circa corporation. Because who knows what they're actually doing? Circa corporation is not gonna just be defeated because a couple Jedi's decide to, get themselves kicked out of Kashyyyk, right?
Yeah, the corporation is everywhere in the galaxy at this point.
It's like how Wayland Yutani is treated in the Alien Expanded Universe. Like, no matter how you kick their asses, their influence is so big that they're actually in other planets and other major businesses. So, no matter what victory you get against them, what you did doesn't even have a dent on their, power.
Yeah,
It
indeed.
makes you insignificant.
Okay. Korriban has plenty of interesting side quests to do. I already mentioned a few of them. But I think there is one very fascinating one to talk about, and that is in regards to Carf. Because, okay, so who wants to say what happens to. Who wants to talk about Carf's side quest in this one?
You get to meet Cart's son, Dustil.
Yep. Yep.
And depending on what you did, so if you actually messed up and killed Car's son, Dustil, as a female protagonist, your romance option will be automatically blocked. So there is no progressing after that.
Okay.
So if you're pursuing a romance plot as a female Revan, you're screwed if you kill Car's son.
That's something, yeah. And I find that quest pretty interesting. Yeah, and it is definitely heartbreaking that you thought your son was dead when all along he joined the enemy to become a Sith apprentice. Like, that has to be some really gut-wrenching shit for Carv, if you ask me. Like, damn.
The son becoming the enemy.
Yeah, that's insane. So, yeah. Fortunately, you can redeem Dust still. So there is that. As far as I know, did that actually happen? Because a lot of Kotor 1 has to be confirmed by later sources to see if what actually happened is, what actually happened. Because in regards to Dust still being redeemed, maybe it did. So who knows on that. But yeah, but regardless, it is still a pretty good side quest. So yeah, and there's several others that are pretty cool. So Korriban's definitely a really interesting place to explore. Yeah, so yeah. Anyway, you guys got anything else to mention on Korriban?
There's the plot about the students trying to escape from the Sith masters and trying to hide in the cave, and you have to.
You have to kill a Terentatek to let him escape.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah.
So you have to fight 3 in total.
Yeah.
In this level.
Freaking Terentatecs are everywhere. I mean, in Korriban makes sense because it's Korriban. Like, you can't get more dark side in Korriban. So.
Yeah, I wonder what Extra-Kun was doing there, creating all these crazy ass creatures.
Who knows? But
also, there was a shop that sold Exar Kun's armor for some reason.
That's something.
I mean, these Kotor games have some weird things. Like, for example, you get some random root, like like a Keldroma suit, like Uli Keldroma's like mesh suit. Like, why am I having this? Why did Uli drop this? And you also have this random characters like, what's it, Nomi Sunrider's robe in Kotor 2? Why do these people have these things? Like, I know the people who are making these video games thought, wow, it would be cool if you actually have these comic book characters items. And the thing I've been wondering is like, why would I have these items? It makes no sense for me to have these items, right?
See, I think it's because RPGs tend to do this, where you can actually get certain items and stuff from from fabled legends, whether it's from the same continuity or even a random Easter egg from another video game franchise altogether that the same devs created. For example, I believe in, what was it, Fallout 4, you can actually, or one of those, or actually in Doom 2016, you can actually see the helmet and a few Easter eggs from, say, Bethesda's games from, Fallout, Skyrim, and you get a few of those. Like, it's kind of like those random Easter eggs of sorts, cool items. But when it comes to when you do that in something like Knights of the Old Republic, or where it's in a continuity with an entire cyber franchise, it's not even your creation. It's you're using that license to make a new product for that franchise. Yeah, that's where it makes something. That's where it conflicts with continuity wise. So. In this case, we're likely just gonna have to take it as just random Easter eggs.
I mean, these items design, they're not even different enough. Like, even Aliens Colonial Marines did this thing better.
Like, what makes sense is, like, K. Keldroma in the one story with the Great Hunt, he died at Korriban. So you could pick up his roams, which are really good if you're light side, but you can pick those up, and that makes sense because he died at Korriban. But Exar Kun dies, like, somewhere like Yavin 4, and somehow somebody gets those robes, and in Korriban? So, I mean, obviously it doesn't make any sense, but it's just like, they just want to add that, oh, this is somewhat like that of what he would have, something powerful, like armor of sorts, but yeah, it doesn't make any sense in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
I mean, if you also play Kotor 2, you actually get an item called Freedom Knots Blaster, and I was wondering, like, what is the significance of this? Like, why would I want a lightsaber instead of a blaster? Like, these weapons, like, and items, they make it look like, wow, they're historically important items, but they're not that useful if you actually use them.
I really think it's just Easter egg weapons and stuff. Like, video games tend to do this, especially RPGs. So,
I mean, at least I want them to, in-game, to design them to look different. Because the issue I have with these Easter egg items is, like, they only put the name to be unique, not the actual design of these weapons. They're not unique.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair criticism. Yeah. So there is that. And anything else to mention, guys, on Korriban?
It's actually good to explore a planet which appeared in the EU.
Tales of the Jedi, yeah. Granted, this was the same year that Jedi Knight Jedi Academy came out, so I guess we had two games where we explored Korriban.
But Jedi Academy was in the days of the New Republic, and this is set in the Old Republic era. You actually have to sit on the planet itself, making it more, how should I describe it, authentic than what's in Jedi Academy.
Oh yeah, because the dark side is really strong in there compared to Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Though it is fascinating how the tomb of Marka Ragnos is very different in both games. Because he does have a tomb in Kotor 1, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and the tomb looks vastly different in Jedi Academy. Like, you guys, like, it is very different compared to what we see in Kotor 1. So I guess it really just shows how much almost 4,000 years changes things. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah. Anyways, so guys, shall we get now to the actual finale of the game?
Let's do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now after getting the 4-star map, you get the coordinates, you arrive to the unknown homeworld, which is Rakata Prime, or later known as Lehon. And of course, the Starforge itself is right there, pretty much harnessing the power of the sun to create all of its Sith fleets and everything. So, but unfortunately, before you can even set foot on it, a force field of sorts pretty much disables the Ebon Hawk, and you're forced to make a crash landing on the Rakata homeworld. And from there, you have to find parts to repair the ship, but also disable the force field. And so you go and explore, and you find a settlement on the south part that deals with the Rakata species, in particular the Rakata elders. And you talk to them, and they pretty much, how are we going to trust you, Revan, after what you did to us last time? Where you said that you were going to pretty much rid the dark side from the temple, and you didn't do that. and we broke tradition to let you and Malik go together, and you took advantage of our trust, and from there, yeah, we pretty much never saw you again. So yeah, they're like, you gotta prove it to us, and so they task you to invade the North Rakata enclave to pretty much rescue one of their last scouts. And so yeah, you do that. You kill their leader, the one, and all of them, and you rescue that last Rakata, the last Elder Rakata, and so yeah, from there they pretty much help you to get inside the temple, and you get inside the temple, and so with the help of Jolie and Juhani, by the way. So because they had a vision of sorts that they were really fearful what would happen inside the temple. So they accompany you no matter what. So it's the three of you going inside the temple, and after killing some dark Jedi and some other forces, you venture into the floor below to interact with a computer to pretty much unlock the door on the top, and you manage to do it, and you find someone in the top floor, and who is it, guys?
Bastila Shan.
Yep, she's there with a full dark side robe, pretty much just converted to the dark side, ready to take you down. And yep, you fight her, and well, she gives you an offer to pretty much join her and take over the entire Sith army. You refuse, and she escapes in the Sith fighter, and from there you disable the force field, and you get back to the Everhawk. You tell Karf what happened, and he's like, no, Bastila, no, she turned to the dark side, no. And then you pretty much follow soon to the Starforge, and from there, well, you see that the Republic managed to get the coordinates of from Karf, since he transmitted them, and they're pretty much getting into the Starforge. And yep, you journey into the Starforge, and you take out enemy resistance you see, and yeah, you even have to face against specific droids that Darth Malak creates against you, and yeah, you take them down, and then you arrive and see Bastila waiting for you in a specific holographic room, and you have one last battle with her, and from there you manage to beat her, but you have two choices. You either just kill her and move on, or you try redeem her, and canonically, you actually redeem her and confess her love. So yeah, Bastila stays behind using the battle meditation to pretty much give the Republic an edge. And so from there, you move on, and you encounter Darth Malak. He sends more troops against you, and you kill him. And then you arrive at the final room against Darth Malak. And yeah, it is the final duel, you against Darth Malak. And yeah, so Master versus Apprentice. And when it first seems that you're having an advantage against him, let's just say that he retreats to a nearby stasis tank of sorts to drain the life force of one of the captured Jedi he has in there, and from there he recovers his health and his force power, and yeah, you have to pretty much fight him again. So in there, you have to pretty much take care of the stasis tanks in order to make sure that Malak does not recuperate his energy again, his health. So you have to use force powers that. You can use lightsaber throw, or I guess force lightning if you want to be evil. So, but yeah, you pretty much use saber throw, so you can pretty much get some more force power added to you. So yeah, once you do that and there's none left, you take on Darth Malak head first, and yeah, you beat him. And then he has some final words to say on what would have happened if he was the one that had actually been spared by the Jedi and with his mind reprogrammed instead of Revan. Like an interesting what-if scenario. And from there, Malak dies, and yeah, the entire battle is saved, the Starforge is destroyed, and the entire Republic and your crew celebrates in the Temple of the Rakata, and from there, the game ends. That's the ending of the game. So, guys, what do you think of this one?
I mean, the Starforge Planet section is where the story can vary in two different ways. One is you actually join Bastila to, and then kill Jolie and Giovanni, and one is how things are supposed to go. I mean, I only chose the dark side option once to see what is happening, and I don't recommend people for doing that. Not because killing, Johanny and Jolie and Zalb are running away is the problem. Is the real problem is when you actually play in the Starforge, you actually need all three force sensitive characters get through the level. That's why I do not kill Jolie and Johanny, because the game becomes extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it becomes more difficult. Yeah, indeed. So yeah. So, Django, what do you think of the final act of the game?
Yeah, it's great. Rakata Prime, seeing the Rakatans, just constantly fight with one another, just base down to their base level, primal level, and reduce from an empire that was so big and vast to now just one planet of just them fighting. And then you choose which side you want to choose. The good or the evil one, which is just cannibalistic and just downright just. I mean, they have the only good thing is just like you don't have to face the Rancors if you're siding with them. So that's the only benefit. But I mean, if you want to do an evil playthrough. But I would say the Starforge. If you go through the Starforge, don't forget to get those Starforge robes. Uh, Depending on if you get light or dark side, it actually varies which type of robes you will get. And both are really, really good. So if you miss them, then you're missing out a really important item for the big fight. So it makes the fight a lot easier. But if you don't get them,
Fun fact about the Star Forge robes. So they're actually the light and dark side. The light side is they're this cool white with brown chest plate robes. They're pretty cool. The dark side, those are actually Darth Revan's robes. The exact
Yep.
same ones, which is really fascinating. So, and yes, those are the robes that are used for the Black Series figures. So, which is really
Yeah,
fascinating.
and I have to mention that the Starforge is the most frustrating level at all in the whole game because for some reason, some idiot thought it was a good idea to infinitely respawn enemies
Oh
at
yeah.
certain points.
yeah, it feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some points where you do get enemies respawning forever. It's only until you manage to hit a certain amount where they actually stop respawning. But they start respawning again the more you progress into the game. So if you actually face them in one place and you don't move, they stop respawning. But if you progress even a little bit, especially if you get to like to a specific door or something or a hallway, then yeah, that's where you get more of them spawning in. So now narrative-wise makes
and
sense because the Starforge, is supposed to create infinite amounts of armies, but gameplay-wise, yeah, it can be frustrating.
And it's the level cap for this game is level 20. So even if you do kill them, you're not gonna get level up anymore. Like for example, Kotor 2 is better in the sense that the level cap is 50, and in normal ways you're never gonna reach level 50. But when you do level up, right, constantly, feel like you're getting stronger. But in this game, since your level cap is 20, like it's just frustrating. Whatever you do, you don't get XP for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think the level cap should have been 30 in Quarter 1, if you ask me. I think it should have been 30. Would have been good enough, and you could have reached it by the time you got to the Starforge. So yeah, I think it should have been 30. 30 would have been good enough. So there is, yeah. This is obviously where you're already at your strongest with not only your character but your companions. So definitely, before getting to the Starforge, definitely get them all to level 20. You're gonna need it. So it is very important. And yes, go with Force users because anything but Force users, yeah, no, it's gonna be a problem, especially against all the Force users that are gonna go against you, especially in the second half of the Starforge. So yeah, Force users all the way. Bring Joel and Juhani for this one. So
And make sure to have force lightning because that thing can kill a lot of enemies
yeah, you
in
get
one
Force
attack.
Lightning, but actually you can also use Force Wave. Force Wave is also really good. It's basically a big Force repulse, and it does a lot of that. It does a lot of damage, and because it has no alignment between light and dark side, you can actually use it many more times than Force Lightning. Actually, so it is really useful.
I wouldn't recommend force wave. It's depending on the computer. It could actually drop your frame rate, so I don't recommend force wave.
Oh no, in my case
Force-
that's not a problem. So it's fine on my end, and it's fine on my Xbox Series X too. So it's all right. So
And
yeah.
make sure to turn up, those what is it? Those force push effects and running effects because there's a lot of enemies respawning. So if you turn on these special effects, your frame rate is gonna go down real soon.
Actually, the main reason to disable that shit is so that in 4-speed you don't get the vision blurred, which is really annoying. So that's actually the main reason I turned them off, so that you only get the increased movement speed when using 4-speed, and not having to deal with the annoying blurry vision whenever you turn on 4-speed. So, yeah, that's the main reason why. So yeah, and the Starforge, it's fascinating. It's a factory, but at the same time, it's kind of alive. Like it's a really piece of machinery, and it's definitely one of the more unique super weapons in Star Wars. I know it's a trope in Star Wars, but it's one of the more unique ones. So, and I give it credit for what Bioware managed to come up with this one. I think it is really cool.
I think the Starforge is in a way based on the World Devastators, the way they could produce ships and all that stuff.
Kinda, I guess. Django, do you by any chance know what inspirations were for the Starforge, like the behind the scenes on this one?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to read this section, but we'll reference something from Boss Fight Books' section on Star Wars Knights of the Republic, and there's a behind the scenes for a lot of the what is referenced from there. But it's been a while since I've last read it, but there are some entries I will mention a little bit later for that.
Okay, yeah, indeed. As for the fight with Darth Malak itself, and that one, yeah, as I mentioned, it's a really interesting one. It's the final boss, and yeah, he definitely will test the shit out of you. So definitely be on your toes for that one.
Especially if you're doing light side, and you can't use any dark side powers. Yeah, it can be a little frustrating. But if you're dark side, it is just like a breeze.
I mean, my solution to fighting any type of boss is easy. Basically, run around the map until your force H is filled up, and then use force lightning. That works every single time.
Oh, that's something. Oh, by the way, the Django, I actually found an interesting fact about the Starforge. Apparently, LucasArts actually gave Bioware feedback on the Starforge's design, and they actually said that it was a little too close to the Death Star. So that's probably why it doesn't look too much like a Death Star, because LucasArts was like, try not making it look too much like a Death Star.
Okay, makes sense.
So that is fascinating.
And if you look at the designs, like these warships and starfighters, they resemble the ones we see from the Empire.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Their soldiers and helmets resemble the rebellion. So, what I'm wondering is how did these aesthetics were maintained for thousands of years? And then I gotta mention this thing later in the EU section, but seriously, the aesthetics when you compare this. So at the time, right, in between this thing was set between Tales of the Jedi and Jedi vs. Sith, which I do have to mention certain things wrong with the visual studs, but
yeah, so indeed. And I find the concept of the Star Force fascinating, and the Rakat and everything, and how they used to be able to use the Force, but because of their own arrogance, their own anger, hatred, and all of their unstable emotions, they pretty much lost the ability to use the Force. So, which is why they had to rely on other Force users to pretty much be able to cleanse the temple from the dark side and everything, which is why they opened the doorway for Darth Revan and Malak at first, and then of course Revan and his new partners.
Speaking of that, it's really weird, isn't it? When you open the door for the temple, there's already dark side Jedi's and Sith waiting inside for you, and was why are they there? How are they there?
The house CC, you can actually disable the force field inside the temple, and they pretty much allow anybody in.
You can get inside the temple without the ritual?
Yeah, you can. Where you finish fighting Bastila, the control device there, you can actually disable the temple shield, so you can get in and out. So, yeah. So Malak can pretty much summon whatever forces he wanted to the temple. So the only reason you need the ritual there is because the only way to access the temple without the ritual is deactivating the force field inside by deactivating the controls. So So yeah, the ritual is basically just one alternative way to get inside. So it's not the only way to get inside. So that's
See.
so that's pretty much why. So yeah, that is pretty much how. So yeah, and so yeah. The Django, you got anything else to mention on Rakata Prime or the Starforge?
No.
Okay, no one.
No.
Okay, well, shall we now get into any other stuff we want to discuss about the game, behind the scenes, continuity, in regards to how what actually happened in the game, continuity wise, or shall we get into that now?
I mean,
Yep.
yeah. I would like to mention that there's like two events mentioned in this game, which was never shown in other things. Like one is the Mandalorian Wars. They mentioned this war happening like 5 years before the events of this game itself, but like, why would you mention such a big event, which you are not actually gonna show in this game?
Yeah,
Like a man.
yeah, I don't. I don't know. I guess they didn't have enough time to, I guess, model any causes or something. I don't know. I don't know. But the event is canon. The essential chronology does say that yeah, there was a Mandalorian war at least 5 years before the events of Kotor 1. Yeah, so that is pretty much canon.
You can't tell something as big as like attention seeking as the Rakata and a time before the old Republic without even exploring it that much. Like we barely get information about the Rakata other than the fact that they had this infinite empire and they were the strongest, and they're too dark sided, so they later were removed from the force. Like, yeah, that is all interesting enough, but that's not really that much, right? Up till this point, people thought the old Republic was the latest era in the Star Wars timeline, and then you just suddenly introduce something way before that without giving enough information.
Well, they were pretty much setting up for exploring way more than just the Old Republic era. That's pretty much what it was. So yeah, but actually the Jedi Order existing for thousands of generations, that's been there since the original trilogy, it's episode 4. So the timeline being all the way to 25,000 BBY actually does make sense, because it was something that was pretty much laid the groundwork even as far back as episode 4. So this game actually is more like expanding on that than it is establishing it. So it's more building up on the idea that there's more than just 5,000 BBY to, what is it, 150 ABY. So it's setting up more than that, which is, I think, is fascinating. So there is that, yeah. And the Django is your.
And
What's up, the one?
no, Django, go first.
Oh, so I was going to pretty much ask the Django, since you're the one that knows the most about behind the scenes of this game. So, what do you got of interesting facts to discuss here?
So, I'll go through some of these quotes in the book. This is from Mike Gallo. He was one of the producers for the game. And he basically said, I remember talking about Golden Age of the Sith and basically passing around these trade paperbacks at the office. And I had read some of these comics back when they'd come out, but we were kind of resurrecting that stuff and reading through it, and it made a lot of sense. One of the working titles for Kotor initially was Age of the Sith or Tales of the Jedi. It was directly named after one of those comics. I was fascinated by how much of those folks at LucasArts knew about the Star Wars canon, and one guy in particular he would go to is Hayden Blackman. And he showed me some of the old Republic comics, and I loved them. So that's where Mike Gallo kind of got the inspiration from, from Hayden Blackman.
Fascinating.
Speaking of writer, we haven't mentioned this man till now, and guess who I'm about to mention? This man is really, really crucial for the KOTOR game.
Who
Yes,
is it?
who is?
Who is it?
The one and only Drew Carpenter
Oh.
is the mastermind behind the creation of this game, isn't he?
The main writer, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, Drew Karpyshyn is one of the main the main writer, or at least
But
the
he's
lead.
not one of the. He is the main writer. a main writer.
So yeah, he definitely is, and yeah, so a lot of the stuff that he actually that he wrote here, he of course later put into several other works that he did later on. But yeah, plenty of the stuff he came up with here, and it's interesting because after this, he went on to write for Mass Effect, if I'm not mistaken, right, Django?
Oh, who?
Drew Karpyshyn.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so he definitely was doing more than just writing for Star Wars, though it is fascinating that he had the time to write for Star Wars in the middle of writing Mass Effect. That is fascinating.
Drew Karpyshyn is also famous for writing the fan favorite Bane trilogy, which me, General, and Hansen spend our time ranting the hell out of it.
Yeah, more so you guys. So,
Yeah, and then he also wrote a really despised novel by the fans, which was The Old Republic Rebel, and he was also one of the writers for The Old Republic MMO.
SWTOR, yeah. Yeah, so this man definitely has plenty of his footprints in Star Wars, particularly the Old Republic era, yeah, and Mass Effect. So yeah, he actually also worked on Jade Empire and Baldur's Gate 2, which is fascinating, and he was part of Anthem, which oh god. So yeah, but he ain't the only one. Other staff members from Bioware also did a lot of work on this one. Was Casey Hudson part of this one, Django? Was he part of this one?
Thought so. Yeah, I think so.
Let me check that. Yeah, because I know Casey Hudson was there all the way for the Mass Effect trilogy, but I don't know if he worked on... Oh yeah, he did work on Knights of the Old Republic 1. Yeah, he did. He was core game designer, producer, and project director. Nice. That is fascinating. So yeah. I believe there were there's other important stuff from BioWare, but I keep getting I keep forgetting specifically their names. I just know of Casey Hudson, Drew Karpyshyn. So the composer Jeremy Soule, I definitely know him. So that much is there.
I always thought for the longest time that John Williams did the soundtrack because of how accurate it was to the to Star Wars. And then years later, when I found out it was Jeremy Soule, it just blew my mind. But it makes sense because he's just like a legendary composer.
Yeah, he's made.
But But wasn't he the same guy who wrote the music for Force Unleashed, or am I missing?
No, he's the guy that actually made the soundtrack for the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, and he also did Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and Skyrim, which is fascinating. So he also did Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets video games.
Oh, he also did the music for Star Wars Bounty Hunter.
He did Journey as well, which is I fucking love that game too.
Yeah, he did a lot of stuff. Yeah, and it is indeed really interesting that he has a lot of work in video game industry. So it is great. So yeah, he also did some music for Unreal 2 and even Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban, Dungeon Siege 2, Guild Wars 2. Like, he's done a lot. So they definitely got a great guy making the soundtrack. So yeah. And since we're talking about behind the scenes, it is fascinating how BioWare decided to not do the sequel for Knights of the Republic 1, and instead they wanted to make Mass Effect instead. Like, that is pretty interesting, because you'd think they would have been the ones to, hey, let's do the next Star Wars. Like, the first one was a success, let's do the second one. But no, instead they were like, let's just instead not do it, and let's instead just make our own science fiction franchise where we're basically we're more free in terms of doing what we want and not being restricted by what what's already established.
Yeah, that part is questionable because they eventually did make SWTOR MMO, so
yeah, that I wonder if that's because they wanted to make a different genre of RPGs. Who knows? there is one thing to discuss in regards to behind the scenes, and that is the way the combat is. Because KZ Hudson had explained that when they wanted to make Mass Effect, they wanted to make it into real-time third-person shooter as opposed to the procedural turn-based combat of Kotor 1. And that, to me, that's fascinating. Because okay, nowadays, plenty of people they have their issues with the procedural turn-based combat of Kotor 1, and some like it, some don't, and I know there's some that do want the gameplay to change into something more akin to Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it's more action-based and more hack and slashy type. So it's kind of like that. And what do you guys think of the combat in this game?
I mean, it's just alright, but the main attraction of the game is the story, not the combat itself. So
I agree.
I just consider it as a secondary thing.
I can agree, yeah. Especially it's an RPG, and RPGs rely so much on story too.
My actual complaint about this game is like how clunky the weapons actually feel like when they actually hit each other. When the swords and swords hit each other, it doesn't feel like there's like a great impact. Like it feels like you're playing with twigs.
That is something, yeah. Django, what do you think of the combat? Oh, what's up, Lehon?
Let me also. No. Go ahead. Django first. I hope they read about this.
Okay, Django, so what do you think of the combat in Knights of the Republic 1?
I think when I first played it, I did not understand it at all, and then over time, it kind of just went by easily. But it was just like when it was first introduced, this kind of turn-based, kind of more like, I guess, like Dungeons and Dragons-esque combat, because they did actually use the I think the Dungeons and Dragons rule system from there.
Yeah, they
Yeah, so it was a little complicated at first. I think in my first and second playthrough, and then I guess I got, I've just gotten used to it, and it's not a problem. But it's not as fun and engaging as other games out there. But it gets the job done. I still liked it. Kotor 2's combat, I would say, is definitely much better. They improved a lot of it. So in comparison, I would say Kotor's 2 combat was definitely a lot better.
I mean, there was a attempt on someone to port the Kotor into the Kotor 2 version of the engine. I don't know what the engine is called. So basically, you use Kotor 2 system as a general basis, but it's still Kotor. But my main issue with this game is that it has this weird, unexplainable bug. Like every some minutes after you walk, your character is stuck, and they cannot move for whatever reason.
Oh yeah,
This bug happens constantly.
That has happened to me a few times, yeah. So that is.
It happens something like every 5 minutes when you play this goddamn game. It's annoying as hell.
To me, it has happened a few times. Yeah, there are some characters that get stuck or they get left behind and they have to run back. There was actually one time that I actually got a glitch that Carve somehow teleported to the top of the Jedi Enclave on Dantooine, and because he was stuck there, I was unable to move to anywhere else, to transport to anywhere else, save for the entrance to the Jedi Enclave because he was close to there. So if he wasn't close to there, I would have had to load up the save again. So fortunately, I didn't have much progress. So even if I had to do that, I would have not lost much.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Talking about as in the character you're controlling cannot move every 5 minutes. You just randomly walk, and then whatever forces exist stop you from walking.
Oh yeah.
It just forces you to walk in one direction.
Oh yeah. So okay. So yeah, that's mostly because if you click on something, he goes automatically. So, but you can actually cancel that if you use the WSD keys. But actually, there have been a few times where I've actually just walked into whatever hallways or whatever place, and there have been a few times where it seems like my character hit an invisible wall, so I have to like get around it to pretty much to pretty much ignore the invisible wall. So it's a bit hilarious, but a bit on the frustrating side. It is funny that those glitches happen, but hey, at least it's not that many glitches compared to other recently released games, including RPGs. Mass Effect Andromeda launch was one of them, which is ironic. So yeah. Oh, by the way, the engine that Knights of the Republic 1 and 2 use is called the Odyssey engine. So that's the engine they used.
So what I was explaining is like some fans tried to port the Kotor game into the Kotor 2 version of the Odyssey engine.
That is interesting. Yeah, and it's interesting because as far as correct me if I'm wrong on this one, the Django, but didn't they use the Unreal Engine for Mass Effect games?
I think so.
Let me
Pretty
check,
sure, yeah.
Let me check that quickly. But yeah, so okay, yeah, here it is. They used Unreal Engine 3 for making the Mass Effect trilogy. Interesting. So they went from their own engine, the Odyssey engine, to now using the Unreal Engine 3. That's fascinating. So yeah. And
Speaking of
what's up, Doan?
Unreal Engine, the first one I think was also used to make the game Deus Ex. So there's that.
Oh, speaking of Deus Ex, actually, I got some info regarding the how the game was designed as the Republic 1, and they actually compared it to Deus Ex. So, project director Casey Hudson said that one of the greatest achievements and one of the greatest risks for Kotor was the combat system. We wanted to create something that combined strategic aspects of our Baldur's Gate series and Neverwinter Nights, but which presented it through fast, cinematic 3D action, Hudson said. That required us to make something that hadn't really been done before. Creating the system was a daunting task because of the many factors to cover which were difficult to visualize. The developers intended to make the game have more open-ended gameplay. Gallo basically being the who is the Mike LucasArts Mike Gallo. This guy pretty much he compared some of the situations to Deus Ex. He said that you have several ways to get through an area, and you might need a character who has specific skill to do that. So I guess they take some influence from Deus Ex to make Kotor. Fascinating.
Interesting.
Yeah, I find that fascinating too. And in regards to the technology, LucasArts and Bioware, they settled on developing Knights of the Republic for the PC and Xbox. And the Xbox was chosen over other consoles because of Bioware's background developing PC games, and they had greater familiarity with the Xbox and the other consoles. And they Gallo pretty much said that we could do things we wanted to do on the Xbox without as much effort as we need to do it on the PS2 or GameCube. Other factors included the console's recent success and the opportunity to release one of the Xbox's first RPGs. Interesting, because the Xbox was known for not being the console with most RPGs, especially Japanese RPGs. So, but
And
Knights of the Republic was definitely was.
PS2 will be capable of running Kotor in the first place. I mean, just look at the graphics. That alone in the.
It's not just that. They would also have to downscale the levels a lot, which already they were a bit downscaled compared to the PC version. But so getting it on the PS2 or even the GameCube, yeah, that would have been something. I mean, the Django, how do you imagine Kotor 1 on the PS2?
Oh God, I don't want to know.
I don't think you would even run at 30 FPS.
I think it would be choppy 20 FPS, and the levels would be even smaller and more loading screens.
We get 20. Its average will be like 10 or 15 for this.
I think we'd be getting another Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell situation on this one if that happened. That would have been something.
Yeah, but it's ironic, isn't it? The remake is gonna be a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah.
The first.
Well, assuming it's not cancelled, because I guess that's one thing we gotta mention. So, the Django, you already know this, but the Knights of the Old Republic remake has been put on ice, probably indefinitely, as of right now. Because any developers working on it, yeah, no, it's been confirmed that, yeah, no, at this point, it is put on ice. Nobody's working on it right now. Yeah, what do you gotta say on that one?
That's pathetic.
Yeah, it is. So, you got more info on that one, the Django, so you might wanna, you might wanna mention on that.
Which part?
The Knights of the Republic remake. Like, what's up with that?
Oh, yeah. So, oh God. When this was initially announced, it was going to be done by a very familiar company, Aspire. Now, Aspire is known for remakes. Well, not remakes. Remasters.
What?
And ports. Lots of ports. And they did the Kotor 2 really well on the Steam a couple years ago. And they've done the port for the phone, which works fantastic. But they've never been known for creating a big endeavor, which is going to be the Kotor 1 remake, which is a completely new thing. It's I don't know what they were thinking when they were just giving them the reins for that. But pretty much this was not allowed by the parent company. I think it was Embracer.
Yeah.
And they just pretty much just said, yeah, we don't like any of this, and we're just going to give it to somebody else, and you guys are not doing this. And then from there...
Was that
Yeah.
Sorry.
Was that the one?
No, I was trying to say, depending on the situation, we could get something like GTA, the definitive edition, or some nonsense. Because, yeah, do not get porting companies to make remasters or remakes.
I mean, it's a pretty obvious thing, but the fact that they didn't even know that, and it involves like hundreds of people involved. Like this is a completely new remake. This is like on the level of like a Dead Space or Resident Evil 4 remake. This isn't some little tiny thing. And Kotor 1 is like 2003, and to now, it's like completely different than Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space, because those are, you know, kind of more modern than Knights of the Republic. So that's a whole new endeavor. So yeah, it was just canned from there, and it's probably never going to happen. It's just canceled at this point because Embracer doesn't want. I mean, they gave it to Saber Interactive, but they're not going to really do anything at this point.
It's all the remake. Any social media and any trailers and everything have been officially hidden and delisted from all of Sony's social media accounts, and including YouTube as well. And now Sony claims that the listing happened because the music license expired, which that makes no goddamn sense.
Nobody believes that, you idiots.
I mean,
What do you think?
I mean, even if they did use,
Stupid.
even if they did use Star Wars music license, like the game's not even out. Why would you delete the trailers for an upcoming game?
No. Let me just think about it. You would use a Star Wars music to advertise. Guess what? A Star Wars game. The mere fact that you're trying to convince people that you have licensing problems because it's a Star Wars music is the most idiotic thing I have heard in recent years. And I heard a lot of idiotic stuff.
Yeah, I call bullshit on them saying that it's because of music license. No, I think it really is because something bad happened with the Kotor remake behind the scenes. They're probably just canning it all together.
This thing is never gonna happen.
I think this thing is gonna take even longer to release than freaking Duke Nukem 2001, if you ask me. Like, I believe it.
Duke Nukem Forever?
Yeah, I think the Duke Nukem 2001 build, like the full version of it, I think that's just gonna release much earlier than freaking Kotor remake at this point.
Yeah, at least the fans are making it, making the modifying the 2001 version, but. The last time fans tried to make a KOTOR remake, it was canned by EA, so there's that.
So they canned it, and now we're getting an official remake. Yeah, it's also canned. So I guess KOTOR really can't get any remakes. That stinks. So that freaking stinks. So yeah. That's in regards to the KOTOR remake, and I mean, the game really, it is a game that would require, that I think really could use a remake far more than other Star Wars games, to be honest. Well, okay, unless older Star Wars games, stuff like the Dark Forces 2, that certainly could require a remake a lot. But this one definitely could require a remake, especially on the gameplay side and some of the visual side. So not so much the story. Maybe there are a few things that you could change or improve, but on the story. But mostly it's the gameplay and the visuals that need the changing. So I really think that is what needs to. Now, should the gameplay remain the pseudo turn-based combat, or it should go full-on action? What do you guys think of that?
I mean, I don't know about that. It could work either way, as long as it doesn't feel like clunky like it's in the original.
Okay. The Django, what do you think?
Can you repeat that again?
Do you prefer the Kotor remake, if it does come out, to use the pseudo turn-based combat of the original Kotor, or it should go more on the action-oriented combat style akin to Final Fantasy VII remake?
That is a good question. I think probably to how they did it with Final Fantasy VII. I don't think they should just stick to the original. They should do something different with that.
Okay. I know the Dragon Age series actually expanded on that original pseudo turn-based combat with Dragon Age Origins, and I've heard that it's actually better than Kotor 1. So there may be ways to improve on it, but I think most people would probably prefer make it more on the action-oriented, kind of like Final Fantasy VII. So I think probably people prefer more that. So there's that indeed. Yeah. And so and. Okay, is there anything else to discuss of behind the scenes?
Oh,
Okay.
not really.
Okay. Anything else to discuss on this one, or shall we go now to the EU connections?
EU connections, yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the EU connections. Okay, and since this is Knights of the Old Republic one, oh boy, okay, there's a lot of them. Okay, so I'll let you guys start.
Before that, I have to mention that the aesthetics in KOTOR 1 is really, really bizarre because, like, this game is, at the time, was set between Tales of the Jedi Redemption and Jedi vs. Sith, right? So, like, there's, like, a lot of technological difference between Tales of the Jedi and Knights of the Old Republic, which, like, Knights of the Old Republic somewhat looks like it's set in the original trilogy to a certain degree, while Tales of the Jedi is set in, like, ancient times. So, and then we also go to Jedi versus Sith, and then these people are like living in freaking ancient Rome or something. So like visually, it's really inconsistent.
Yeah, obviously, creative liberties was taken with the Bioware artist, so which obviously contrasts so much. So now, obviously, the one explanation could have been that it takes 50 years after Tales of the Jedi, but yeah, once you get to Jedi versus Sith, there's not much technology in there. So yeah, there's definitely something going on in there. So there is that. And speaking of Tales of the Jedi, so this game has plenty of references to Tales of the Jedi from, of course, obviously Korriban and stuff, to even mentioning Exar Kun in actual reference, like actual dialogue. Like, there's plenty of references in the previous Sith War. Like, so there's lots of references to Tales of the Jedi here. So, pretty much, yeah. And Tales of the Jedi fans, the Django in particular, are pretty much happy with this. I'm pretty sure.
It's relevant lore.
Yep, indeed. So yeah, Doan, the Django, what EU connections do you guys got?
I found a connection with Darksaber. You know, the Sand People storyteller you actually get to hear the story from? And that was actually first introduced in Darksaber, of all things.
I don't know that. That's news to me. That's something. Indeed. Anything else you guys? Anything else you got?
Can't really think about it. Oh wait, Telos. I think that was.
Yeah,
see.
Telos it was mentioned. Yeah, because that's where Kar's family were pretty much supposedly killed. So, and that's actually from where Karf is. So yeah, that was first mentioned. Though actually, its first appearance is from the Marvel Comics, Star Wars 1977 issue 16, which is fascinating. I didn't know that until now. So that is pretty interesting. And of course, if we're talking EU connections, Knights of the Republic 1, of course, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and SWTOR, obviously those connect with the first game. No surprise there. So many connections. Like being even direct sequels narrative wise, so those make perfect sense. And of course, the Arvane trilogy, in particular, Path of Destruction, that
I
ties heavily into Kotor 1. So there is that. And do you got any others, Dolan?
can't really seem to think. Let's see. No. I only can think about Tales of the Jedi for some reason.
Okay, to me, in my case, I can think of several others. Obviously, certain planets that first appeared in Knights of the Old Republic. They obviously got their mentions in several other sources, like of course Taris. It got mentioned all the way to freaking Darth Plagueis, Empire at War. It appears in Empire at War actually, and even the Millennium Falcon comic book, and several others, and then of course Lehon, aka the Rakatan world. Obviously, it shows up in it shows up in the Darth Vane Path of Destruction with freaking Bane exploring it. So of course you get that, and also this world has actually appeared in more SWTOR. It even appeared all the way to Jabber's Sith, Essential Guide to the Force, the Essential Atlas, even in the unknown regions, Essential Chronology. So all the new planets that were first appeared here, they make their appearances in future Essential Guides and references, in particular the Essential Atlas and Jabber's Sith Essential Guide to the Force and Essential Chronology. So there's that. And as for several characters like Bastila Shan and all the others, they appear Knights of the Republic 2 and the SWTOR and its tie-in media like the Rebben book. So there's that too. Also the complete Star Wars encyclopedia. So there is that. And fun fact, Circa Corporation, you're not gonna believe this,
Yep.
but this is actually not the first the first time it appears in Kotor 1. No, it's actually the Rebel Alliance source book where they're first ever mentioned in Star Wars. A source book from 1990. Which, damn, I didn't know that one until now. So there you go. Yep.
I could think about something like cortosis, for example, was mentioned in, I think it was the Jedi Academy trilogy. It's mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be that. Yeah. Of course. Let's not forget that. Of course, Knights of the Old
It was the
Republic.
iJedi.
I Jedi. Yeah.
iJedi was the first one to mention cortosis.
Okay. Yeah. Let's also not forget the Knights of the Old Republic comics also tie into Knights of the Old Republic 1, even having characters from it. So there's those two. And the Gizka, they actually, of course, they're mentioned in Kotor 2 and even appear SWTOR, but they're actually mentioned in Fate of the Jedi, Omen, and Legacy Loyalties, and the Legacy comics from 2006. There's those two.
Oh wait, I forgot. This game also mentions the Yuzan Bong, so there's a connection with the New Jedi Order.
Oh yeah, because isn't Canderous that said that they attacked some
Yeah.
sort of weird ship? That its description was so similar to the Yushan Bong scripters. Like, yeah, that is fascinating.
That is cool.
And then, of course, the Star Forge itself. It actually was mentioned in Darth Plagueis, but it even was mentioned in Republic issue 68 somehow. I forgot a specific reference, but yeah, it's referenced there.
I think Rakata is mentioned in that issue, so there's that.
Yeah. There's obviously the Jabber's Sith, Essential Guide to the Force, Essential Atlas, Complete Star Wars Encyclopedia, so Essential Chronology, so there is that. Then Baka, he doesn't have any sources other than the Clone Wars Comic 6.9 TCW issue. From UK exclusive comic, which is funny.
That was where it was revealed that Baka was Chewbacca's ancestor.
That something. So yeah. Then of course the Torrentatics that first appeared here, they've shown up in any freaking Kotor media except Kotor 2 for some reason. And SWTOR, Darth Bane Rule 2 they were mentioned. They also were mentioned. They appear in Hologram for Jedi Ascension, and of course several guides: Jedi vs. Sith, New Ascension Chronology, Bizarre Encyclopedia, so on and so forth. So yeah, and there's also several others. Calf Hounds. Apparently they first appear here, and they've shown up in several others. Even in Republic Commando True Colors, they were also mentioned there, which fascinating. And then of course the Shadows and Light Star Wars Tales 23. So interesting. So on and so forth. And that's all the sources I can think of. This game is pretty much tied into, as far as I can tell. Do you guys got any others?
I can't think about it.
I guess the Ragghouls also. Let's also not forget about those guys. They first appeared here, but they were expanded in the Vector storylines. So that's pretty interesting. And so yeah, and that's pretty much it as far as I can tell. And I guess also the Phyraxan sharks, and they first appeared here, and they also were mentioned in Republic Commando True Colors, even Legacy of the Force Revelation and SWTOR. So and with Manaan, Manaan actually appeared in Star Wars Empire at War. So that's actually 2 planets that have shown up in Empire at War, which is fascinating. And even it's also in its expansion Force Corruption. So pretty interesting. And so yeah, and so there's several other planets and stuff. So yeah. So anything else to mention on EU Connections, guys?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess now we go into the conclusions. So Django, you want to go first in the conclusion?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think this is just an absolutely legendary game. I still play it to this day, and if you really want to play this, I recommend just playing it through the phone because it actually works very well, thanks to the port through there. But I love everything about this: the systems around it, the characters, the story. I just think that this is one of BioWare's best games and one of the best games out there. Period. And I just highly recommend it. So yeah.
Okay. Doan?
I mean, it was great to talk about this game after many years, and this game also has a significant part in Star Wars history, and it rightfully has its fan base because of being great. And go play it. Play on PC, Mac, your phone, Switch, anything possible. Well, unless it's freaking Xbox, because why would you do that? But go and play it.
Okay. As for me, I think this is a great RPG, and yeah, definitely worthwhile to play it. Play it on any version that you got available. If you're playing OG Xbox, play it on the Series X. You're gonna get a much higher frame rate because if you're playing the original Xbox, you're gonna be playing at a choppy 20 FPS. So go and play it in the Xbox Series X if you have the original OG Xbox copy. But if you got better options, there's a mobile port which is pretty good. But there's the PC version where you can pretty much add some mods that you can either change the gameplay once and other stuff you want, or just make some minor visual elements into to just spice it up a bit and just make the game look appealing enough without actually changing too much the visuals, like just increasing the resolution and improving the texture work. So that's pretty much actually what I did for my latest playthrough, just improving it with just improving the texture work and the resolution. That's pretty much it. So yeah, I definitely couldn't recommend that enough. So that would be one of the best ways to play this game. And yeah, so this is definitely, if you're a BioWare fan or a Star Wars fan or even an RPG fan, then this, or if you're all 3 of them, this is a no-brainer. So definitely play this one. It's a great game. So yeah, do not miss on this one. This is a great game. So yeah. And with that, well, this is the Knights of the Republic podcast, and so yeah. And with that said, we'll see you guys on the next State of Star Wars video. Bye bye.
I
See you guys.